Chapter 61. Nalan, it's really you. When Morongan heard the conversation from the sound stone, he looked at Nalan Lan in disbelief. Nalan Lan didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a thing. She didn't have any evidence, but now the evidence was conclusive. She couldn't defend herself. Director, you heard the conversation. Ichioji is just an executor. The mastermind is Nalan Lan. She wants to kill me. Sima Yue said. The head of teaching's face was extremely dark. He didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a trick up her sleeves. She directly targeted Nalan Lan. If it was an ordinary person, then he would just expel them. However, Nalan Lan was a genius of the Nalan clan. If she was expelled by the academy, then the clan would definitely not let him off easily. Even if he was the dean of the academy, he was still bound by the clan's restrictions. Dean, you've seen the evidence. Please uphold justice for my student, Feng Zhixing said directly when he saw the dean's expression. This Sima Yue, you only have a voice, and it only said Miss Nalan. It doesn't say that it's Nalan Lan, so this evidence can't be established. The dean thought for a while, and said something that even he didn't believe. Hearing this, the surrounding students hissed. Director, what do you mean by this? Feng Zhixing said with a cold face. The head of teaching seemed to be very satisfied with the reason he found and said, That's what I mean. There's not enough evidence. We can't say that it was Nalan Lan who ordered it, so we can't make any decisions about Nalan Lan. Director, how can you be like this? Sima Yule shouted at the teaching director. Sima Yule, what kind of attitude is this? The head of teaching looked at Sima Yule with dissatisfaction. If you continue to be like this, be careful that I don't charge you with the crime of disrespecting your teacher. Before the head of teaching could finish his words, he felt a figure flash before his eyes, followed by Nalan Lan's scream. Sima Yue, what are you doing? When the head of teaching saw Sima Yue walking towards Nalan Lan, he placed a dagger on her neck when no one was paying attention. What am I doing? Didn't you see it? Sima Yue said. Anyway, you've decided to side with her today. The evidence was clear, but you didn't punish her. From this, it seemed that hurting a classmate wasn't a big deal. So I thought, since that's the case, I'll settle this matter myself. I don't know if her head will still be on her neck if my dagger slips. Stop. The dean saw Sima Yue's dagger moving, and immediately stopped her. Why should I stop? Sima Yue looked sarcastically at the head of teaching. So many students heard the conversation between Hichioji and Nalan Lan, but you insist that it wasn't her. Since that's the case, I can kill her and say that I didn't do it. Anyway, I believe that the general's residence has the ability to shut everyone up. When the head of teaching saw Sima Yue's dagger, drawing a line of blood on Nalan Lan's neck, he wanted to go forward and separate them, but he was stopped by Feng Zhixing. The two exchanged 2 blows and then separated. The head of teaching looked at Feng Zhixing and shouted, Teacher Feng, what are you doing? You're stopping me. Are you trying to let Sima Yue kill Nalan Lan? Feng Zhixing stood in front of Sima Yue and looked at the head of teaching. He said, I think Yue is right. Since you're not willing to uphold justice for my student, then let her settle it herself. When she's done, I'll punish her. When Sima Yue heard Feng Zhixing's words, she almost laughed out loud. What did he mean by, when she's done I'll punish her? When Nalan Lan died, he would at most expel her from the school. At that time, their Nalan family would lose a genius, and she would at most be expelled from the school. Moreover, she was certain that the head of teaching wouldn't dare to let her really hurt Nalan Lan, or else he wouldn't be able to answer to the Nalan family. Teacher Feng, I want to punish you, the head of teaching said. But if you step aside now, I won't pursue the matter. The head of teaching didn't know Feng Zhixing's strength. He only knew that he was someone the principal valued, so he didn't want to have a direct confrontation with him. From his point of view, Feng Zhixing was offending his superiors and obstructing him from enforcing the law. Giving him a chance was already not letting him down. However, Feng Zhixing didn't intend to accept his kindness. Since you can't uphold justice, then I naturally can't believe what you're saying now. Feng Zhixing said seriously, so today I won't let you hurt my student. If you want to punish me, then punish me. Sima Yue, Do you know what kind of ending you'll face if you dare to hurt Nalan Lan? The head of teaching saw that Feng Zhixing didn't move, and Sima Yuyue's dagger could take Nalan Lan's life at any time. So he turned around and said to Sima Yuyue, "Isn't it just being expelled?" Sima Yuyue smiled evilly. "But before I'm expelled, I'll have a good time first." After saying that, she waved the dagger and prepared to cut Nalan Lan's neck. Stop. The surrounding people were shocked by Sima Yuyue's actions, and the head of teaching even shouted. Just as Sima Yuyue's dagger was a centimeter away from Nalan Lan's neck, a terrifying pressure came from the school building. That pressure caused everyone present to be unable to move. Only Feng Zhixing turned around to look at the source of the pressure. That was the head of teaching's office. The head of teaching's window opened, and a figure flew out and landed on the square. Seeing Sima Yuyue and Nalan Lan, he walked over and pulled Nalan Lan away from Sima Yuyue. After that terrifying pressure dissipated. Everyone else disperse. The few of you come to my office. The old head of teaching looked at Sima Yuyue and the others, and left with his hands clasped behind his back. Since the head of teaching had spoken, the others did not dare to say anything and dispersed. Sima Yuyue, Feng Zhixing, Sima Yule, the head of teaching Nalan Lan, He Qiuji and the others followed the head of teaching to his office. Nalan Lan covered her neck and glared fiercely at Sima Yuyue. It was too sudden just now, and she did not notice how Sima Yuyue got close to her. However, she really felt a strong murderous intent just now. She knew that if the head of teaching did not come out, Sima Yuyue would really kill her. Sima Yuyue glanced at Nalan Lan and used her hand to make a throat-slitting action. Seeing her shrink back subconsciously, she smiled happily. After that, she looked at Feng Zhixing who was walking in front. She had just noticed that under the head of teaching's pressure, he was still able to move freely. This proved that his strength was above the head of teaching. It was said that the head of teaching was the most powerful person in Dongchen Kingdom. He was even more powerful than Sima Lai. Feng Zhixing did not look old. Was he really stronger than the head of teaching? What was this kind of person trying to do by hiding in the school? Chapter 62. Crazy Wife. Miracle Doctor 5th Miss Crazy Wife. Miracle Doctor 5th Miss Crazy Wife. Miracle Doctor 5th Miss 62 Readable Chinese Network. The newest version of Readable Chinese Network. Welcome to Readable Chinese Network. Crazy Wife. The Godly Doctor's 5th young miss has no pop-up window to read. Fan Bonewood's new book Crazy Wife. The Godly Doctor's 5th young miss latest chapter is updated the fastest here. Current location. The Voice of God. Crazy Wife. 5th Miss of the Divine Doctor 1. 2. 3. Wink with a frown. When they arrived at the principal's office, everyone consciously split into two groups. Nalan Lan stood behind the head of teaching. Sima Yuyu and Sima Yulu stood behind Feng Zhixing. He Qiuji looked around and stood beside Sima Yuyu. The principal sat in his seat and looked at the teaching director saying, "How do you manage the academy's affairs? You almost killed someone." "Principal, it was Sima Yuyue who wanted to kill Nalan Lan. I wanted to stop her, but I was stopped by Teacher Feng. You should ask Teacher Feng why he stopped me." The head of teaching pushed all the blame onto Sima Yuyue and Feng Zhixing. The principal looked at Feng Zhixing with a cold face. It was obvious that he was very angry. Sima Yuyue heard that he was very scary when he was angry. She couldn't help but worry about Feng Zhixing. She was afraid that the principal would find trouble with him. However, the principal suddenly shouted at the dean. "Do you think you have the final say in this school? Although I don't really manage the school's affairs, I'm not blind. I can clearly see what's happening in the square. Now you're trying to push the blame onto someone else? I think you're a director for nothing. Do you want to give up your position? I'll get someone to replace you right away." "No, Principal, The dean wanted to explain, but the principal glared at him. "Where's the sound stone?" the principal asked. Feng Zhixing stepped forward and placed the sound stone on the table. The principal picked up the sound stone and injected his spiritual energy into it. The dialogue from before began to play again. As he listened, he glared daggers at the head of teaching. His meaning was that the head of teaching was so obvious. Yet he still made such a decision. The head of teaching was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. After listening to the recording, The principal looked at Nalan Lan and asked, "Do you have anything else to say?" Nalan Lan snorted coldly and turned her head to the side. "Since that's the case, let's dismiss him." The principal said, "Hichioji, the same goes for you. When the two of you go back, pack your things and leave the academy. From this moment on, you are no longer students of the academy. Now go back and pack your things." Nalan Lan walked out first. When she passed by Sima Yue, she glared at her fiercely. Seeing that the situation had been settled, Hichioji could only leave unwillingly. "As for you, as the head of teaching, you have been unfair in your handling of affairs and engaged in malpractice for personal gain. You will be suspended for a year. During this time, someone will take over your position. You should go home and reflect on your actions," the principal said to the head of teaching. The dean wanted to defend himself, but when he saw the principal's stern gaze, he swallowed his words and turned to leave. Sima Yue rubbed her nose. Was the matter settled just like that? No matter what, Nalan Lan had been fired. Her first goal had been achieved. Right now, only Sima Yue, Feng Zhixing and the principal were in the house. Seeing that Sima Yue was distracted, the principal snorted and pulled her back to reality. Sima Yue saw that the principal was looking at her and immediately stood up straight, acting like a good student. "Why are you pretending to be obedient now?" The principal looked at Sima Yue and said, "Do you know that if I didn't do anything, you would have been expelled today? Harming a fellow student, you really have guts." Sima Yue grinned and said, "Didn't I know that you would come, principal? That's why I did it." "You knew?" The principal raised his eyebrows in surprise. "That's right. You've been watching from the window for so long. You definitely wouldn't watch us blow this matter up." Sima Yue said, "You knew that I was watching from here?" The principal and Feng Zhixing looked at each other. It was normal for Feng Zhixing to discover him, because he had an unknown strength. But Sima Yue actually knew that he was watching? "That's right. You were already here when Master Feng and the rest arrived at the square," Sima Yue said confidently. From the beginning, she felt that someone was watching from here. Who else would be able to see from here other than the principal? As an assassin in her previous life, she was very sensitive to this kind of attention. She was the best at hiding herself and discovering others. She immediately felt the principal's undisguised gaze. "That's why you used this method to get me out?" the principal asked. Sima Yue nodded her head. The head of teaching is determined to protect Nalan Lan. Only you can stop him. But you just stood here and watched without showing yourself. I had no other choice, Sima Yue said with a sigh. But then again, if I had been impulsive just now, or if my hand had slipped. Seeing the principal's face getting darker and darker, Sima Yue's voice got softer and softer. She swallowed the last words that she wanted to say. "I promised your grandfather that I would give you an explanation. I didn't think that you would catch the culprit yourself. Now I've given you justice. I don't care what you do outside the sect. But the Nalan clan is not to be trifled with." All the chapters were uploaded by netizens and reposted to Readable Chinese Network, only to promote this book and let more readers enjoy it. Chapter 63. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi still wanted to persuade her, but seeing the determination in her eyes, they swallowed their words. "Then train well, we'll go together." Wei Ziqi patted Sima Yue's shoulder and walked out. "And don't worry, I'll take care of you," Fatty Chu said as he left. Sima Yue closed the door. Thinking about Fatty Chu saying that he would take care of her, she smiled. Even though she had been framed by the second-in-command of the organization in her previous life, she did not think that the whole world was a bad person. Subconsciously, she still believed in her own judgment. She could tell that Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi truly treated her as a friend. However, what she didn't know was that because she had formed a contract with the spirit orb, her body unconsciously exuded a kind of aura, causing people who had similar souls to her to unconsciously approach her. When Sima Yue returned to the general's residence, he told Sima Lai everything that had happened in the academy. When Sima Lai heard that the Nalan clansman had done something to Sima Yue, he was so angry that he smashed his desk into pieces. He gritted his teeth and said, The Nalan clansmen have been targeting our clan recently. And now they dare to do something to you. Looks like we haven't dealt them enough damage recently. That's right. Now that Nalan Lan has already been expelled from the sect, based on the way the Nalan clan does things, I'm afraid that they won't let Fifth Bro and our family off. Sima Yula said. What's there to worry about? They won't let us off, but we don't want to let them off either. Sima Yuming's voice came from outside. Sima Yula saw Sima Yuming walk in and asked, Second brother, you're back? I heard you talk about this the moment I came back. Sima Yuming said. That Nalan clan might cause trouble for Fifth Bro at any time. Grandfather, since we promised the other party to take good care of Fifth Brother, we can't let him fall into such danger now. Sima Lai nodded. Grandfather, second brother, what are you talking about? Sima Yulu heard their conversation and looked at them in surprise. It was only then that Sima Lai and Sima Yuming remembered that Sima Yulu was still around. They recalled that he had never known Sima Yu's identity and never thought that he would forget about it in a moment of anger. Sima Yuming patted Sima Yuli's shoulder and said meaningfully, Actually, Fifth Bro is not our biological brother. What did you say? Sima Yulu was shocked by this news and looked at Sima Yuming in disbelief. It's true, Sima Yuming said. That year when Fifth Bro came to our house, you were still very young, so it's normal that you don't remember. Fifth Bro is actually not our biological brother. Sima Yulu repeated this matter twice before raising his head to look at Sima Lai and asked, Then who are Fifth Bro's parents? We also don't know who her mother is. Her father had once been a benefactor to our Sima family. At that time, after handing her over to us, he disappeared. As for his identity, we also don't know. Sima Lai said. When the Sima family first came to this small place, they encountered danger. It was Sima Yu's father who happened to pass by and saved them. At that time, they said that they would repay him if they had the chance. Who would have thought that 10 years later, he would find him and hand Sima Yu over to him? He even instructed him not to let anyone know that Sima Yu was a girl. At that time, the Sima family only had Sima Lai's bloodline left. In order to protect Sima Yu, he told everyone that it was his son who had brought her back. Actually, at that time, his son had already been missing for many years. It had to be said that Sima Yu's parents and his real parents had gone missing. Sima Yulu was too young at that time, so he didn't remember. However, Sima Yuchi, Sima Yuming and Sima Yuran all knew that Sima Yu was not their biological brother. However, they did not treat her as an outsider, and continued to treat her as the youngest child of the Sima family, and doted on her. Sima Yulu looked at his grandfather, then looked at his brother. Seeing that the two of them did not seem to be lying, he slowly digested this news. Grandfather, that person saved you and the Sima family's life. Today we cannot let anyone hurt Fifth Bro, Sima Yuming said resolutely. The Nalan family has always been looking for ways to weaken our family. Send the shadow guards to the surroundings of the sect. Once Yu leaves the sect, they will protect her secretly. You can't let the Nalan family hurt her, Sima Lai said. As for the sect, I believe that Feng Zhixing will not let her get hurt. That's true. What exactly is Feng Zhixing's identity? Sima Yulu asked curiously. Sima Lai shook his head. I don't know either. I've asked that old guy in the sect before, but even he doesn't know Feng Zhixing's true identity. He only knows that he should be someone from somewhere else. Furthermore, he came for Yu. For Fifth Bro. Feng Zhixing said. Yu carries a life jade with her. Something like a life jade is not something that just anyone can have. Usually, only big clans have it. Furthermore, it has to be placed in the ancestral hall of the clan. Yu has a life jade, but it is not placed in the ancestral hall of the clan. Instead, it was brought out by her father. This shows that her identity is not simple. However, it is not safe. Speaking of Sima Yu's life jade, Sima Yulu and his brother thought of the few months that Sima Yu had gone missing. They relied on the life jade to not go crazy. I don't think we've heard of anyone in this world who has something like a life jade, Sima Yulu said. Yes, people in this world can't make one at all, Sima Lai said. They don't even have the materials to make one, let alone the strength to do so. So fifth bro's identity might not be from this world. Sima Yuming asked. That's just my guess. Sima Lai said. However, when Feng Jixing came to see you use Life Jade, he said that he was there when you used Life Jade was made. This means that he should be from that place as well. Furthermore, he knows you use identity. Then will he tell her about fifth bro's identity? Sima Yuming furrowed his eyebrows. Probably not for the time being. Sima Lai said. The way I see it, it seems more like he came to see you use life than to tell her the truth. Hearing what Sima Lai said, Sima Yuming and Sima Yulu heaved a sigh of relief. Even if Sima Yu was not their biological brother, they had lived together for so many years and had a brotherly bond. They did not want anyone to break this bond. Alright, Yulu, go back to the sect. Yuming and I will discuss how to deal with the Nailan clan. Sima Lai said. Okay, if there's anything you need me to do, you must tell me. I am also a member of the Sima family. Sima Yula said seriously. Your current mission is to cultivate well and look after fifth bro in the sect. Sima Yuming patted Sima Yuli's shoulder. Alright, then I'll go back first. Sima Yula shrugged his shoulders and left the study. Seeing that Sima Yula had left, Sima Yuming turned to look at Sima Lai and asked, Grandfather, how do you plan to deal with the Nailan clan? Chapter 64. The news of the Nailan family's genius girl, Nailan Lan, being expelled from the Imperial College quickly spread throughout the capital. It was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Everyone in the streets and alleys were talking about it. Nailan family. In the main hall, the Nailan family's patriarch was sitting on his seat. The two elders were sitting on one side, while the others were sitting on both sides. In the middle of the room, Nailan Lan was kneeling on the ground in a blue robe. Her head was lowered, and her long hair hung down behind her head, covering her cheeks. Nailan Chi knelt at the side and looked at the tense atmosphere in the room. He said, Father, you can't blame sister for this. It's all that Sima Yu's fault. If it weren't for her, sister wouldn't have been expelled. How dare you speak? Nailan he fiercely slammed the teacup in his hand onto the table. Looking at the kneeling Nailan Lan and Nailan Chi, he scolded. You clearly know that you can't do these things in the academy, yet you still did it. Now that you've been expelled, you've lost the face of my Nailan family. Nailan Lan lowered her head, not saying a word. Patriarch Lanner didn't want things to turn out like this. I thought that it would be fine if that trash was killed, but I didn't expect her to come back alive. The great elder at the side said. Lanner also wanted to strike a blow at that old fellow Sima Lai. You see, when that trash disappeared, we did indeed take the opportunity to strike at the Sima family. That's right, Patriarch. Lanner's talent is extraordinary. Without the academy, how could our Nailan clan not be able to nurture the younger generation? Another elder also spoke up for Nailan Lan. But being expelled by the academy, how much shame would it bring to the family? Now I'll punish you to go to the ancestral hall and repent for 3 months. Reflect on your actions. When Nailan he heard the two elders exonerate his daughter, his heart relaxed a lot. He gave Nailan Lan a punishment that was neither painful nor itchy. Nailan Lan kowtowed to the front, got up and left. From the moment she came back to the moment she left, she had not said a single word. Everyone thought that she had been struck by this matter, but her lowered eyes were bursting with intense hatred and killing intent. She secretly thought that when she came out of the ancestral hall, she would definitely take that trash's dog life. After Nailan Lan left, the great elder waved his hand and dismissed the juniors. There was no need for them to participate in the following conversation. Patriarch, this Sima family is going to directly fall out with us this time. The second elder said. This time, the Sima family has humiliated us greatly. We must repay them well. Nailan he gritted his teeth and said, When I went to see the old ancestor yesterday, he also said that we should clean up the Sima family as soon as possible. Then let's start to close the net. The first elder and second elder nodded in agreement when they heard that this was the old ancestor's intention. For a long time, the Sima family had been suppressing their Nailan family. This time they must take down the Sima family. As a result, The struggle between the two families moved from the shadows to the surface. No matter what field it was, the two families had a tendency to fight to the death. Sima Yue also knew a little about the struggle between the two families in the academy. However, she was now ordered by Sima Lai to stay in the academy and was not allowed to go back. She could only work hard to improve herself in the academy. For more than a month, Sima Yue had been practicing alchemy in the spirit pearl. Previously, she had almost finished refining. After practicing for a few more days, she once again set her sights on the second step of fusion. This time, Sima Yue chose the simplest first-grade pill, the blood coagulation pill, to practice. This blood coagulation pill only required 4 kinds of ingredients. Moreover, they were all relatively mild ingredients. The probability of explosion was relatively small, and the success rate was relatively high. It was a pill that ordinary alchemists would use. After letting Little Spirit prepare the ingredients, Sima Yue once again confirmed the steps of refining the pill. After making sure that she had memorized them, she then began to refine the ingredients. She was already very familiar with the step of refining the essence of the ingredients. Very quickly, all 4 ingredients were refined. After sorting out the refined medicinal herbs, he first put 2 of them into the pill furnace. After a while, he put another one in. Thinking about the previous time when the furnace exploded, Sima Yue still had some lingering fear in her heart when she put the ingredients in. She was afraid that the same thing would happen again. However, this time, the ingredients gave her face and did not explode. This made her greatly relieved. Following the instructions in the book, she controlled the size of the flame. At this time, she realized that without her own flame, refining pills was a very troublesome thing. After a few minutes, Sima Yue put the last ingredient into the pill furnace. Luckily this time, the furnace did not explode. However, just when she thought that she had succeeded, a gurgling sound came from the pill furnace. Then with a poochy sound, a burnt smell was emitted from the small hole on the pill furnace lid. This meant that the fusion had failed. Sima Yue extinguished the fire and opened the pill furnace lid. As expected, she saw a black lump of something inside. She could not help but sigh. Yu, don't be disappointed. This is your first time, it's normal to fail. It'll be fine once you're familiar with it. Little Roar appeared behind her and comforted her. I'm not disappointed. Sima Yue shook her head and said, I'm just thinking that refining pills is really not a simple thing. Of course. Little Spirit also appeared in the air and said, Master before Master said that the steps of refining pills are not very difficult. However, it is not without reason that tens of thousands of spirit masters are blocked outside. Every minute of refining pills, every step of control, must be precise. Moreover, the requirement for mental strength is 1 in 10,000. Looks like I still need a teacher to guide me. Sima Yue touched her chin and began to think about who to choose as her teacher. However, after going through all the pill masters in her mind, she could not think of anyone suitable. They're all crooked melons and cracked dates. I won't be able to learn anything from them. Thinking about how those pill masters were all arrogant, Sima Yue rejected all of them. If those pill masters knew that they were being looked down upon like this, they would be so angry that they would stomp their feet. Forget it, I'll just try it myself first. When I meet a good pill master, I'll think about becoming his disciple. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she picked up another set of ingredients and began to practice. 3 days later, she finally succeeded in refining the first batch of medicinal liquid. Now for the last step, condensing the pill. Sima Yue let out a long sigh of relief. Then, she placed her hand in front of the pill furnace and condensed her spiritual energy, slowly injecting it into the pill furnace. Pung! Once the spiritual energy came into contact with the medicinal liquid, a violent explosion occurred. The pill furnace was blown into pieces and flew everywhere. Sima Yue was also blown away by the force of the explosion. Damn it! It exploded again. Before she fainted, she vaguely saw a fiery red figure appear beside her. There was also a pair of complicated eyes looking at her. Chapter 65. Pain. When Sima Yue slowly regained her consciousness, Pain was the only thing she could feel. Yu is awake. Little Roar's voice sounded beside her ear. Looks like he's awake. Little Spirit's voice carried a hint of arrogance. But why hasn't Master opened her eyes? Exquisite's worried voice came from Sima Yu's chin. Linglong, don't lie on Yu's stomach. Yu won't be able to wake up. Little Roar flew over and lifted Linglong up. Linglong moved and broke free from Little Roar's claws. Landing on Yaguang's back, she fiercely glared at Little Roar. Master should have regained consciousness. Yaguang sniffed Sima Yu and said. Exquisite looked at the transparent figure beside her and pouted. Hey, we'll just guard Master. What are you doing out here? Wah, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to Yu. Little Roar roared at Emo Sha. Let's say this first, Yu is ours, don't fight with us. Emo Sha faintly glanced at the beasts and ignored them. His gaze then landed on Sima Yu, his gaze deep and serene. Little Roar looked at Emo Sha, then looked at Sima Yu. Why was this guy looking at Yu like that? There was a problem. Sima Yu listened to Little Roar, and the others chattering nonstop in her ears. She felt as if her brain was about to explode, but she could not open her eyes. I'll deal with you guys when I wake up. Sima Yu could not help but think. Although she couldn't open her eyes, her consciousness was abnormally clear. The nerves in her body were also more sensitive, and the pain in every part of her body was magnified several times. Just when she felt that she was about to faint from the pain again, there was a sudden cracking sound somewhere in her body. Then, a cold breath came out from her lower abdomen and traveled through her limbs and bones. As the aura flowed through him, the burning pain slowly lessened until it finally disappeared. After the aura traveled a few times, it returned to his lower abdomen and quieted down. Sima Yu slowly opened her eyes. Little Roar and the others were nowhere to be seen. They probably saw that she was fine and ran off to play. Master, you're awake. Yaguang saw that Sima Yu was awake and said excitedly. Sima Yu sat up. The first person she saw was not Yaguang, but Emo Sha, who was sitting at the side. Why did this guy come out? She rubbed her forehead and said, Yaguang, how long have I been unconscious? You use consciousness, you're awake? But after regaining consciousness, you slept for another 2.5 days. So it's been 3 days. Yaguang replied from the other side. 3 days? She said Yu was Yu's by Yu. It was Yu. Only then did she notice that her hands were smooth and flawless, just like before. Yu of us of her to two. It's healed. Emo Sha suddenly said. Sima Yu looked at Emo Sha in surprise. Did he just say that the wound on her hand was healed? Surprised, Emo Sha looked at Sima Yu. Not only is your hand healed, the other wounds on your body are healed as well. Sima Yu touched the wounds on her body. Indeed, she could not feel them anymore. How? Sima Yu could not hide her surprise. She looked at Emo Sha and asked, Did you heal me? Emo Sha shook his head and said, You did it yourself. Me? Sima Yu pointed at herself suspiciously. It was obvious that she did not believe Emo Sha's words. Master, you really healed by yourself, Yaguang said from the side. When you were unconscious, the wounds on your body healed bit by bit. We were all shocked at that time. It's really me? Sima Yu still felt that this matter was too unbelievable. However, Yaguang was an honest person and would not lie to its master. If it said that it healed by itself, then it should be true. But when did she have such an amazing self-healing ability? While she was in a daze, Emo Sha suddenly floated over and arrived in front of Sima Yu, giving her a big fright. What are you doing? She looked at the face that was suddenly enlarged. Even if it was good-looking, it was still very scary. There's something wrong with your body. Emo Sha sniffed Sima Yu's body and said coldly. Sima Yu saw that Emo Sha was looking at her like she was his prey. She subconsciously pushed him away, but her hand passed through his body. What's wrong with me? It's just that I have some amazing self-healing ability. You're the one with the problem. Emo Sha left Sima Yu and said, Your body has been sealed. Sealed? What seal? Sima Yu stood up and lowered her head to look at her body. She didn't find anything wrong with it. Have you seen anyone who was injured by an explosion and was able to recover in 2 days without taking any pills? Emosha said. I don't think so. Sima Yue said. Have you had such an experience before? Emosha asked again. Sima Yue thought about it in her memory and shook her head. In the past, this body was often injured, but every time she relied on pills to get better. She had never experienced such a situation before. Could it be that my self-healing ability has something to do with the seal you mentioned? Sima Yue looked at Emosha and asked. At the moment of the explosion, I felt a familiar aura. Emosha said. I wanted to confirm if it was it, but you were unconscious so I couldn't do anything. How can you confirm? Sima Yue asked. Also, what's with the seal you mentioned? You have to let me confirm before I can answer your question. Emosha said. Tell me how to confirm it first. Sima Yue looked at Emosha in disbelief. This was a big devil. If he played any tricks, she would be sold by him and have to count the money for him. I'll enter your body, Emosha said. Sima Yue was furious and shouted at him. I told you, you're definitely up to no good. If I let you enter my body, what if you try to take over my body? Or what if you hurt my body? I won't let you do that. Emosha didn't expect Sima Yue to have such a big reaction and said, I won't hurt you. TSK, I don't believe you. Sima Yue said, I've checked the information. The books said that the Devil Clan is the most untrustworthy. You say you won't hurt me now. But what if you go back on your words after entering my body? Don't. Emosha looked at Sima Yue's disdainful gaze and was furious. A whirlpool formed around his body. What are you doing? You want to kill me? This is my territory. Sima Yue shouted at Emosha. Emosha's aura slowly weakened and returned to his original state. If it wasn't for the fact that the sand on the ground was different, Sima Yue wouldn't have been able to tell that he was angry. I can't hurt you. That's because we have a contractual relationship. Emosha slowly said these words, successfully causing Sima Yue to freeze in place. Chapter 66. Contract relationship? Emosha nodded, indicating that it was true. Then why don't I feel that there's a contract between us? Sima Yue asked curiously. Because I've blocked it. Emosha said. Sima Yue sized Emosha up and was secretly shocked. To be able to block the contract between them and make her feel nothing. Even if she hadn't been in this world for long, she knew that it was almost impossible. But not only did he do it, but it was also under the condition of an incomplete soul. What a terrifying existence he was when he was alive. But the more powerful he is, the more things he'll know. Sima Yue guessed in her heart. If he has a contract with me, then wouldn't I have a very powerful guarantee? Who knows, I might even get more things from him. Emosha saw Sima Yue's eyes darting around, and knew that she was up to something, but he was too lazy to care. He closed his eyes for a while, then opened them to look at her and said, All right. Sima Yue felt for a while, and realized that she really had a connection with Emosha. When did we form a contract? She still felt that it was inconceivable. The other party was a demon, and he was in a soul state. How did they form a contract? When you destroyed the maze soul formation, I don't know how you formed a contract with the spirit stone. But I, who was inside, was naturally contracted as well. Emosha thought of this, and his face turned as black as a smelly drain. How is it? Can I go in to investigate now? I want to see what's going on with your seal. Speaking of the seal in her body, Sima Yue became serious. She didn't think that there would be such a strange thing in her body. She didn't know what was sealed, who sealed it, and why. Come. She nodded at Emosha, not knowing how he was going to enter her body. Just as she was about to ask, Emosha had already turned into a black light and entered between her eyebrows. The moment he entered, Sima Yue felt a bone-piercing coldness and subconsciously shivered. Why is this guy's temperature so cold? Sima Yue could not help but complain. If I don't come out now, I'll be frozen into a popsicle. After a while, before Sima Yue's body reached its limit, Emosha finally came out from between her eyebrows. As soon as he left, she immediately felt the chill disappear. How is it? What's going on with the seal? Sima Yue saw that Emosha was looking at her with a complicated gaze, and asked aloud. Seeing that he did not speak, she said, Could it be that there's a bomb sealed in my body? It's not a bomb, but it's pretty much the same. Mo Sha had followed Sima Yue for so long, so he knew what the bomb she was talking about was. It's really a bomb. Sima Yue's expression turned sad. I was just guessing. I didn't expect that I would be right. I said it's not a bomb. Mo Sha said. All right, no matter what it is, I have to know. Sima Yue pursed her lips and said, Tell me what's sealed in my body. Light demon body. Mo Sha's voice trembled when he said this, as if he was excited. Sima Yue was confused by the words he said. So she did not notice his excitement. What's a light demon body? Why did it have to be sealed? If it wasn't sealed, I'm afraid that your body would have exploded before you were 2 or 3 years old. Is that scary? Sima Yue tried to find some exaggeration on his face, but failed in the end. Then what exactly is this thing? This world is divided into the light world and the dark world. You should know this, right? Mo Sha looked at Sima Yue. Don't you know just by looking at you and me? Sima Yue felt that Mo Sha would talk for a long time. So she simply took out a chair from her space ring and sat down to listen slowly. Mo Sha looked at Sima Yue's actions and could not help but have a face full of black lines. Why was this girl who was so worried just now suddenly looking for a chair to sit down and listen? People in the light world have a type of physique that is rarely seen in hundreds of thousands of years. This type of physique is actually an aura in the body. This aura allows the person to cultivate several times faster than a normal spirit master, and there are very few necks. Furthermore, it has a very strong self-healing ability. This type of physique is called the light body. That's amazing. Sima Yue opened her mouth wide. If I were to meet this type of physique, wouldn't that be like opening a super cheat? Correspondingly, in the dark world, people who have dark aura are called the demon body. If one could have one of these, it would be an extremely lucky thing for anyone. Mo Sha said, But you're different from them. You said that I have the light demon body. Don't tell me that I have both types of physiques. Sima Yue said. Mo Sha gave her a "you're very smart" look and continued. That's right. You have both types of aura in your body. One represents light, and the other represents darkness. These two types of aura are originally incompatible. Now that they're coexisting in one body, what do you think will happen? Especially when you were still a baby. Even a little bit of impact would have taken your life. No wonder it had to be sealed. Sima Yue said. Then, she thought of something and looked straight at Mo Sha, asking, Now that the seal is broken, wouldn't that mean that I'm about to die? Not at the moment. Mo Sha said. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen in the future. Sima Yue looked at Mo Sha and smiled brilliantly, saying, You definitely have a way, right? Mo Sha raised his eyebrows. How so? Since there's a contract between us, then if I die, you won't be able to live either. But you don't look worried at all. Sima Yue said confidently. Besides, you immediately recognized that I have the light devil body, so you must be someone with experience. Either you are, or you've come in contact with it. Mo Sha's gaze toward Sima Yue changed quite a bit. He didn't think that this guy had some brains. This young master knows that his charm is hard to resist, but you don't have to look at me like that. Sima Yue used her hand to flick her non-existent bangs, looking very flirtatious, causing Mo Sha to roll his eyes. You haven't told me what kind of demon you are. Sima Yue said. I was once like you. Mo Sha said faintly, although Sima Yue guessed it. Hearing Mo Sha say it was still a bit shocking. Then how did you become one of the devil race? Mo Sha glanced at Sima Yue, then looked at the mountain in the distance, saying, When I was young, I was also a human. I didn't grow up in the devil race. Sima Yue looked at Mo Sha, feeling that she was emitting a thick sadness. Chapter 67. Sima Yue was shocked by Mo Sha's words. If he wasn't a member of the demon race, how did he end up like this? Then how did you become a devil? Seeing Mo Sha's appearance, she couldn't suppress the curiosity in her heart. Mo Sha was only sad for a moment, but he quickly restrained his emotions and replied, My father is from the human race, and my mother is from the devil race. Speaking of which, the blood of the devil race also flows in my body. That's why you have the light devil body. Sima Yue nodded. If his parents were both humans, then it was impossible for him to have the aura of darkness in his body. Thinking of this, her heart tightened. If that was the case, then one of her parents was also not a human. Your current situation is similar to mine in the past. Now that the seal has been broken, it is not much of a threat to you. In fact, it is a good thing. Mo Sha obviously didn't want to talk about himself anymore. He looked at Sima Yue and said, right now, the two auras are still at a stage where you can control them, so you won't explode and die. However, the light devil body's physique will allow you to cultivate a few times faster than normal people. Your talent has always been higher than ordinary people, and now it will be even more powerful. Really? Sima Yue's eyes lit up as she looked at Mo Sha. If he wasn't a spiritual body, she might have run over to hug him and give him a big kiss. Don't celebrate too early. Mo Sha looked at her and couldn't help but want to pour cold water on her. As your strength increases, the two auras of the light devil body will also strengthen. If you can't control it at that time, there will be a dangerous situation. Sima Yue wasn't that worried when she heard this. Anyway, you have a way, don't you? Since you were able to survive back then, I can too. These simple yet confident words caused Mo Sha's heart to tremble. Back then, he was also young and frivolous, filled with confidence in himself. When he found out that he had the light devil body, he believed that he could survive. In the end, he really did survive. It was just that the process was somewhat painful. Oh yeah, what's the method you were talking about? Sima Yue raised her head and asked. There's no point in telling you now, Mo Sha said indifferently. You're pretending again. Sima Yue pursed her lips, but she did not continue asking. If this guy really did not want to talk about it, he would not open his mouth. Anyway, she now believed that he wouldn't harm her. Mo Sha pretended not to hear Sima Yue's words and asked. Alright, we've finished talking about your body. Let's talk about the next thing. Anything else? Alchemy cauldron explosion. Mo Sha said indifferently. This. Sima Yue frowned. I don't know why either. The furnace keeps exploding when I'm refining pills. I'm just following the instructions in the book. I've seen you refine pills. Your technique is passable, but the problem lies in your control of temperature. Mo Sha said. Every pill has a different temperature at every stage. The slightest deviation can lead to failure. You know how to refine pills? Sima Yue raised her eyebrows. From the way he spoke, she could tell that he was not an amateur. I will, Mo Sha admitted. What rank? You'll know in the future. Mo Sha replied. Anyways, it's enough to teach you. Gee. Sima Yue rolled her eyes at him. This guy really liked to pretend. If you don't tell me, how would I know if you really know how to refine pills? Mo Sha frowned and said unhappily. If you don't want to learn, then forget it. Hey. I didn't say that I don't want to learn. Sima Yue saw that Mo Sha seemed to be at the end of his patience. She giggled and said. If you don't want to tell me, then I won't. Anyways, we're in the same boat now. If I become stronger, I'll be able to help you find your other half. I won't have to worry about you cheating me. Mo Sha looked down, hiding the emotions in his eyes. He was willing to teach her alchemy, because he had his own reasons. Alright, I'll tell you the basics of alchemy now. After listening to Mo Sha's explanation, Sima Yue had a better understanding of alchemy. It turned out that alchemy wasn't as easy as she thought. It looked like 3 simple steps, but there were thousands of ways to do it. If there was even the slightest mistake, she wouldn't be able to become an alchemist. No wonder there are so many spirit masters and so few alchemists. Sima Yue rubbed her chin. These are all based on one premise. Mo Sha said. What prerequisites? Sima Yue asked. Strong mental strength. After Mo Sha finished speaking, he glanced at Sima Yue. Her mental strength could be said to be the strongest among those of the same age that he had ever seen. If it was not for the fact that she had such a strong mental strength, he would not have thought of teaching her. Strong mental strength? Alchemy requires mental strength to control. Especially for higher-ranked pills, the process is more complicated and has a higher requirement for mental strength. The stronger your mental strength, the further you can walk on the path of alchemy. Mo Sha explained. So that's how it is. Sima Yue placed both her hands behind her head and leaned against the back of the chair. She looked at Emo Sha and asked, "Aren't you from the Devil Clan? How do you know the human clan's alchemy methods?" The human and Devil Clan's alchemy methods are the same. It's just that there are some differences when it comes to condensing the pills. Emo Sha said. The human clan's pills need to be infused with light spiritual energy. The Devil Clan's pills need to be infused with dark spiritual energy. For some similar pills, if a Devil Clan member eats a pill infused with light spiritual energy, the pill will turn into poison. On the other hand, humans can't eat pills that contain dark spiritual energy. Understood. Sima Yue nodded. Place the spirit stone on your forehead. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue didn't know what he wanted to do, but she still did as he said. She took out the spirit stone and placed it on her forehead. The moment her forehead touched the spirit stone, a ray of light shot out from the spirit stone and entered her consciousness from between her eyebrows. This is a method to cultivate mental strength. If you practice according to the method on it, your mental strength will become stronger. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue closed her eyes and felt it. In her consciousness, other than the Imperial Beast art, there was now a book filled with an ancient aura. Soul Training Art. Sima Yue looked at the name on the page, and her heart trembled. She opened her eyes and looked at Emo Sha asking, "Isn't it cultivating mental strength? Why is it the soul training art?" The stronger the soul, the stronger the mental strength. Emo Sha explained simply. Alright, let's go to the alchemy room. You can refine the pills from before again. I will guide you from the side. Okay. Hearing Emo Sha say this, Sima Yue put away the questions in her heart and her curiosity towards the soul training art. She brought him to the alchemy room. She could ask him those questions later. Learning alchemy was the most important thing now. Chapter 68. Sima Yue found a few more sets of ingredients to refine the blood coagulation pill. Under Emo Sha's watchful eyes, she refined each of the ingredients. Emo Sha watched her as she refined the herbs, and his eyes shone with approval. She hadn't been in contact with alchemy for a long time, but her movements were quite proficient. It seemed that not only did she have the talent for alchemy, she also had the determination to work hard. After refining the herbs, Sima Yue looked at Emo Sha who was beside her. Put the ingredients into the furnace in order. I will remind you of the things you need to pay attention to at every step. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue took a deep breath and placed the ingredients that she had refined into the furnace in order. When it was time to put in the second ingredient, and when it was time to control the heat, Emo Sha would always remind her when it was time to do so. With Emo Sha's guidance, half an hour later, a pill with a faint medicinal fragrance slowly formed. Alright, extinguish the fire. Emo Sha said. Sima Yue extinguished the fire under the pill furnace and sighed in her heart. If she had her own flame, it would not be so troublesome to extinguish it. She opened the pill furnace and took out the pill inside. Although the shape was a bit ugly, this was the first time she had successfully refined a pill. Just thinking about it made her excited. However, Emo Sha wasn't very satisfied with her results and said, I'll refine it once. You watch carefully from the side. Oh, Sima Yue knew that Emo Sha was looking down on her results, but it didn't affect her mood. She took out a jade bottle and placed the pill inside. Then, she stood to the side to see how Emo Sha would handle it. Seeing him standing motionless in front of the herbs, she rubbed her chin and thought to herself, I wonder how this soul body can refine pills. I'll try my best to slow down. You have to watch carefully. After Emo Sha finished speaking, with a thought, a black flame appeared in his hand. He casually flung it, and the flame ran to the bottom of the alchemy furnace. He waited for the alchemy furnace to heat up, and then he put the medicinal ingredients in to be refined one by one. Sima Yue felt a terrifying heat the moment the black flame appeared, but she quickly suppressed it. If it wasn't for her sensitive soul, she wouldn't have noticed it. She wanted to ask Emo Sha what kind of flame this was, but seeing that he was only refining pills, she swallowed her questions and seriously observed his movements. Although Emo Sha had slowed down his movements, he still used less than half of her time to refine the pill. He retracted the flame and asked Sima Yue to take out the pill. Sima Yuming hurried forward and couldn't wait to open the lid. The pill lying inside was perfectly round and had a medicinal fragrance. With one look, she could tell that it was many times better than the one she refined. It looked like it was at least a first-ranked high-rank pill. Alright, you should first digest what I've told you and think about it yourself. Mo Sha returned to the spirit stone after he finished speaking. Sima Yue did not have the time to ask about his black flame. You left so quickly. Sima Yue pursed her lips and decided to ask him next time. She sat down on the stool and closed her eyes. The process of Mo Sha refining pills just now appeared in front of her eyes. A day later, Little Spirit smelled a strong medicinal fragrance. His eyes lit up, and he appeared in the pill refining room. Master, you've refined it? Sima Yue kept the pill that she had just refined into a jade bottle, and ignored Little Spirit's gluttonous look, saying, I've refined it. Haha, I told you that you would definitely become an alchemist. Little Spirit laughed twice, and looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at a treasure. Sima Yue threw the jade bottle into Little Spirit's hands, saying, Clean it up. After that, she flashed out of the spirit pearl. Little Spirit saw that the pill refining room was in a mess, and with a wave of his hand, the room returned to its original tidiness. After that, he took the jade bottle and disappeared happily. Inside the room, Sima Yue sat cross-legged on the bed. After a while, she opened her eyes and spat out a mouthful of turbid air. The tiredness from refining pills had disappeared. You, Fatty Chu and the others came to look for you a few times while you were in closed-door cultivation. Little Roar saw that Sima Yue had woken up and said while lying on the table, What's the matter? Sima Yue got down from the bed. I don't know, they just walked around the door a few times. They probably thought that you were cultivating, so they didn't knock on the door. Little Roar's 4 short limbs moved vigorously and wanted to turn over, but after a few tries he still failed. Sima Yue walked over and lowered her head to look at him. She reached out and flipped him over, saying indifferently, You should lose some weight. After saying that, she opened the door and walked out. Little Roar laid on the table and looked at Sima Yue's back with tears streaming down his face. He wailed in his heart. That's because you fattened me up in the past. Now you actually despise me for being fat. Sima Yue stepped out of the room and coincidentally saw Ouyang Fei walking in from outside. A faint smell of blood floated from his body. You're injured? Ouyang Fei looked at her and didn't say anything as he directly returned to his room. Sima Yue rubbed her nose. This guy's aura was lower than usual today. Could it be because he was beaten up? Yue, you're out? Wei Ziqi came out from his room and smiled at Sima Yue. Yeah. Sima Yue nodded. Little Roar said that you guys came to look for me during this period of time. Yes, regarding the mission, we originally wanted to discuss it with you. However, seeing that there was no movement in your room, we didn't want to disturb you. Wei Ziqi said. What's wrong? Sima Yue asked. Because our mission this time is more difficult, we decided to set off earlier. Since classes have already stopped recently, we decided to wait for you to come out before we set off. Wei Ziqi said apologetically. It was originally a group activity, but they didn't wait for Sima Yue to come out before making the decision. So fast. Sima Yue was slightly surprised. Looking at Wei Ziqi's expression, she smiled and said, Looks like I've delayed everyone's schedule. Since it's like this, I'll pack up and let grandfather and the rest know before we set off. Don't rush, Wei Ziqi said. Looking at Ouyang, we won't be able to leave in these 2 days. You can take your time to prepare. Okay, then I'll go back first. I'll come back tomorrow, Sima Yue said. Okay, Wei Ziqi nodded. Seeing Sima Yue close the door and leave, he suddenly thought of something and called out to her. Oh right, that He Qiuji was found dead in the city while you were in seclusion. The other party did it very cleanly. It should be the Nailing clan. Hearing the news of He Qiuji's death, Sima Yue wasn't surprised. She knew that the Nailing clan wouldn't let her off. She waved at Wei Ziqi and turned to leave. Those who wanted to harm her should have been prepared to die. Returning to the general's residence, Sima Yue found Sima Lai and told him that she would be leaving for a period of time for a mission. Sima Lai didn't agree at first, but under her coaxing and pestering, he reluctantly agreed. Seeing her leave, he called the housekeeper and said, "Fifth young master wants to go out. Send someone to protect him secretly." "Yes, old master." The housekeeper accepted the order and went to arrange the people. Sima Yue stayed at home for a night and returned to the academy early the next morning. After taking a few turns, she entered a small alley. "Since you're here, why are you still hiding?" Chapter 69. The people who were following Sima Yue were still wondering why she had come to the alley, but after hearing her words, they realized that she had purposely brought them here. "I didn't expect a trash like you to discover us." A man in black walked out from behind a cover and stared coldly at Sima Yue. Another person came out from the other side of the alley and blocked Sima Yue. Sima Yue looked at the person who spoke just now and said, "Nailin Chi, you want to learn how to stalk others with your dog face? Don't make fun of me. You piece of trash. You still have a sharp tongue even when you're about to die." Nailin Chi glared at Sima Yue, his eyes filled with undisguised murderous intent. "You caused my sister to be grounded for a month. Today I must avenge her. You want to kill me?" Sima Yue was very familiar with killing intent. She sneered. "Do you think you can kill me? Haha, let's not talk about the fact that you have a level 1 soul master bodyguard behind you. I am a level 8 soul master. Do you think I can't deal with a piece of trash like you who can't even sense spiritual power?" Nailin Chi looked at Sima Yue as if he was looking at an idiot. "I didn't beat you to death last time. Today, I will definitely send you to meet the King of Hell. Seeing you jump around in front of me is really annoying." You're right. Watching you jump around in front of me is really annoying. Since we have the same goal, let's cut the crap and attack." Sima Yue turned around and ran after saying that. "You want to run? Stop her." When Nailin Chi saw Sima Yue running away, he thought that she wanted to escape, so he asked the people on the other side of the alley to stop her. The guard was shocked when he saw Sima Yue's speed. He did not expect this trash to run from the middle of the alley to him in a few breaths. When he heard Nailin Chi's order, he started to gather his spiritual energy. Even though he was shocked, he did not forget to throw a spiritual energy ball at Sima Yue. When Sima Yue saw the spiritual energy ball coming towards her, she moved her body and ran along the wall, dodging the attack. Bang! The spiritual energy ball exploded on the ground, causing smoke and dust to fly everywhere. When the guard thought that he had succeeded, Sima Yue's figure ran out from the wall, holding a dagger in her hand. She dashed in front of him and laughed evilly. She slashed the dagger on his neck and then jumped back. When the guard saw Sima Yu's smile, he felt a chill in his heart. He didn't think that before he could even react, he would feel his neck go numb. After that, he saw his own blood spurt out from his neck. Bang! His body fell backwards. Until his death, he still couldn't figure out how this rumored trash had dodged his attack. And how could he be so fast? Also, how could that dense killing intent appear on the body of a piece of trash who had been pampered since childhood? Nailin Chi came out of the smoke and waited for the dust to settle so that he could see Sima Yue's body. However, he did not expect to see Sima Yue standing in front of him unscathed. Behind her, his guards were lying lifelessly on the ground. "You're not dead," he cried out in surprise. Even if it was him, he would have been seriously injured if not dead. However, Sima Yue was not even injured. How is this possible? Sima Yue smiled evilly. "How can I die when you're not dead yet? Even if you were lucky enough to escape, you won't be so lucky now," Nailin Chi said as he began to condense the spirit chi in his body. "Actually, I didn't plan to take your life so early. However, since you're here yourself, I can't let your efforts go to waste, right?" Sima Yue said as she began to condense the spirit chi in her body. Nailin Chi looked at Sima Yue's things and shouted in surprise. "You're a spiritual master too?" Sima Yue smiled but did not say anything. She would never be soft-hearted towards her enemies, who had tried to kill her multiple times. Nailin family. Nailin Lan was in her own house. She was panicking as if something was about to happen. Could it be that my brother really went to find trouble with Sima Yue? Nalan Lan mumbled to herself. In the morning, Nalan Chi came to tell her that Sima Yue had returned home last night and was going to the academy today. He planned to kill her on the way there. She did not agree at first, but Nalan Chi insisted and left with his guards. After Nalan Chi left, she began to panic and was worried that something would happen. However, when she thought about it, Sima Yue was just a good-for-nothing. With Nalan Chi and his guard's strength, killing her was just a matter of moving their fingers. Her heart calmed down when she thought about it this way. Sima Yue, it's a pity that I can't end your life with my own hands. However, it's the same if you die in my brother's hands. Nalan Lan clenched her fists when she thought about being kicked out of the academy. In the small alley, Sima Yue came to Nalan Chi's side. Seeing that his face had been burned beyond recognition by her spirit chi flames, his eyes were filled with fear and shock. She kicked him and said, "Why are you so shocked? Because I know how to cultivate? Or because you didn't think that you would be defeated so quickly?" Nalan Chi blinked his eyes, unable to say a word. He did not think that not only did Sima Yue know how to cultivate, her level was even higher than his. He did not know why, but when she used her spirit chi, there was no indication of her level. However, he could feel that she was at least a spirit master. Seeing the murderous intent in her eyes, he suddenly regretted it. If he did not bring people to kill her today, or if he was not arrogant and brought more people, he would not have ended up like this. I have always been a person of my words. Since I said that I would take your life today, I naturally will not keep my word. Sima Yue took out the dagger that Ling Long had transformed into and said, "You are ruthless in this life, but unfortunately, your strength is not enough. Pray that you will not meet me in your next life." After saying this, she stabbed the dagger into Nalan Chi's heart and completely ended his life. In order to prevent any trouble from finding Nalan Chi's body, she kept Nalan Chi and his guards' bodies into the spirit pearl and handed it over to Little Spirit to deal with. Little Spirit saw the bodies that Sima Yue threw in and clapped his little hands. The two bodies turned into dust and dissipated into the air. After dealing with the matters here, she slowly walked out of the alley and walked towards the academy. Soon after, two figures appeared in the alley. Seeing the bloodstains on the ground, they looked at each other and could not hide the shock in their eyes. Fifth Young Master was actually able to kill the opponent in such a short time. It seems that his strength is not weak. I will continue to follow Fifth Young Master. You go back and report to the general. Okay. After saying this, the two of them went their separate ways. Sima Yue arrived at the academy. Before she reached the dormitory, she met someone waiting for her on a quiet path. Chapter 70. Teacher Feng, what are you doing here? Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's figure and stopped to ask. This was a small path that led to the dormitory. Usually very few people would use this path because it was still early. She did not think that Feng Zhixing would be waiting for her here. Waiting for you. Feng Zhixing looked at Sima Yue and said lightly, "What's the matter?" Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's calm appearance, and her violent heart, that had just killed someone, calmed down. Ouyang Fei came to find me yesterday and said that you guys will be leaving the school today. Feng Zhixing said. Sima Yue did not think that they would be leaving so soon. However, thinking that she had already delayed them for a few days, Ouyang Fei and the rest must be anxious. Yes, they said that they would be leaving early. She nodded. Your mission is the most difficult one this time. It is also very dangerous. You have to be careful. Feng Zhixing said. I will. Thank you for your concern. If there's nothing else, I will leave first. They are still waiting for me. Sima Yue scratched her face and said with a smile. Go. Feng Zhixing waved his hand. Seeing that Sima Yue had left, he muttered. There's the smell of blood. What did this girl do? Master, are you okay with letting her go with those people on this mission? A voice sounded out from nowhere. There's nothing to be worried about. If she wants to do it, then let her go. Experience is also good for increasing her strength. Feng Zhixing said as he slowly left the small path. When Sima Yue returned to the dormitory, the other 4 people were already prepared and waiting for her. Ziqi, didn't you say that we would wait for 2 days? Why are you in such a rush? Seeing the 4 people ready to go, she pulled Wei Ziqi over and asked. Wei Ziqi helplessly looked at Ouyang Fei and said, "We wanted to let him rest for 2 days before going, because he was injured. However, he insisted, so we did not say anything. Have you packed your things?" "I have everything with me." Sima Yue waved the space ring on her hand and said with a smile, "Then let's go." Wei Ziqi patted Sima Yue's shoulder and said to the other 3. The pressure on Ouyang Fei's body was still as low as yesterday. Hearing Wei Ziqi's words, he did not utter a single word as he walked out of the courtyard. "Let's go," Bei Gongtang said faintly before walking out. Sima Yue, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi looked at each other, shrugged their shoulders and followed. "Oh right, Ziqi, you guys still haven't told me what our mission is." Following them to the Soul Master Guild, Sima Yue realized that she had been busy cultivating and refining pills. She had completely forgotten to ask about the mission. Wei Ziqi slapped his forehead and said with some vexation, "See, I forgot to tell you about our mission. Our mission this time is to collect some medicinal herbs." "Medicinal herbs?" Sima Yue was astonished. If they needed medicinal herbs, they could just go to the pharmacy to buy them. Why did they have to go and look for them? Actually, looking for medicinal herbs is just a superficial mission. Fatty Chu said. The Academy wants to use this opportunity to train themselves, because the medicinal herbs we are looking for can only be found in the Puluo mountain range. There are many magical beasts there, and if we encounter some, we can increase our practical experience. Hearing about the Puluo mountain range, Sima Yue was a little emotional. It seemed that she had only been back for a few months, and now she had to go there again. "Let's go. We need to use the teleportation array to go to a city near the Puluo mountain range." When it was their turn, Wei Ziqi paid the fee for the 5 of them and told the maid the name of a city. Yen City, 5 people. The maid said as she handed 5 plates to Wei Ziqi. Wei Ziqi took the plates and distributed them to everyone. Sima Yue looked at the plates in her hands and thought that there was no need to fill in the form. It was probably because there were too many people here, and filling in the form was too troublesome. This Yin City was decided by me and Ouyang. Wei Ziqi explained to Sima Yue as he walked. We've asked around and found that there are fewer spirit beasts in the northern part of the Puluo mountain range. This time, we are going to the north, and Yin City is the biggest city in the northern part. Arriving at the house where the teleportation array was, Bei Gongtang and the others handed the plates to the people at the side. After that, they stood in the teleportation array and looked at Sima Yue and the other 2. Thinking about how she had fallen flat on her face the last time she had used the teleportation array, Sima Yue's eyes flashed when she saw the teleportation array again. Once the 5 of them had gone up, the teleportation array began to activate, and they quickly disappeared from the house. Not long after they had left, another 2 groups of people arrived at the Spirit Master Guild. Looking at their clothes, they were also students from the Imperial Academy, Yin City. One of them handed the plate over and said these 2 words to the person in charge before standing in the teleportation array. "Boss, do you think they will really go from Yin City to the Puluo mountain range?" The second person who had arrived at the teleportation array asked. The person who had been addressed as boss glanced at that person, but did not say anything. That person shrugged his shoulders and stood to one side. In the evening, Sima Yue and the others appeared at the Spirit Master Guild in Yin City. "Let's first find an inn to rest for the night. At the same time, we can also find out about the situation at the Puluo mountain range. How about it?" Wei Ziqi asked. "All right." Fatty Chu was the first to agree. After staying in the teleportation array for so long, his back was aching. "I have no objections," Sima Yue replied. Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei also nodded their heads. The sky was about to turn dark, and rashly going to the Puluo mountain range at this time was also a relatively dangerous thing to do. Thus, The 5 of them conveniently asked for the location of the nearest inn when they left the Spirit Master Guild. They went to book 5 rooms and ate dinner before going back to rest. Not long after they had checked into the inn, a few other people also checked in. Sima Yue returned to the house and sprawled on the bed. During dinner, she saw that the other 4 people all had grave expressions on their faces. She knew that they were nervous about entering the mountain the next day. However, to her who had stayed in the Luo mountain range for so long, there was nothing to be nervous about. Thus, after a simple wash-up, she hugged her blanket and fell asleep. The next morning, the few of them gathered downstairs to eat breakfast. Last night, I already asked the shop owner about the situation at the Luo mountain range. Wei Ziqi ate his breakfast and said to the other 4, "The Luo mountain range is divided into the outer, middle and inner regions." Sima Yue already knew everything that Wei Ziqi said. However, after hearing him speak in such detail, she sighed in admiration at his ability to gather information. As long as we don't go to the middle or inner regions, there won't be too much danger, Wei Ziqi concluded. But if the medicinal ingredients that we need to gather are not in the outer regions, we can only take the risk and go to the middle regions to take a look. Fatty Chu said, "The middle regions are too dangerous. If we can avoid it, we should try our best not to go." Wei Ziqi said, "Let's go. This is the first time I've come to the Luo mountain range. I can't wait to see what it looks like." Chapter 71. A group of people went out of the city gate and directly advanced towards the Luo mountain range. Along the way, they saw many other people who were also rushing in the same direction as them. "Why are there so many people going?" Fatty Chu couldn't help but ask as he looked at the people coming and going. Some of these people are just like us, but most of them are mercenaries from different places. Sima Yue had seen some mercenaries before, and she could tell from their clothes. Mercenaries would come to a place like this? Fatty Chu looked at these people. Many of them had fiendish looks, as if they were people who lived on the edge of a knife. That's right, some mercenaries will take on a few missions. For example, if they need some medicinal ingredients, or a spirit beast's magic crystal, or some other materials, they will need to go into the mountains. Wei Ziqi explained. So they also entered the mountain? I thought that since the Luo mountain range is so dangerous, no one would go there. Fatty Chu said, "This is far from what you imagined, isn't it?" Sima Yue patted Fatty Chu's shoulder. Both of them grew up in the capital city. If she had not stayed here for a period of time, she would have been clueless like Fatty Chu. The group of people had been rushing for half a day, but just as they reached the Luo mountain range, Fatty Chu shouted that he could no longer walk. Sima Yue looked around. Other than her, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were panting. Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang were also exhausted. She looked at the surroundings and said, "It's getting late now. Why don't we find a place to set up camp and rest for the night? We'll enter the mountain tomorrow." Hearing Sima Yue's words, Fatty Chu sat down on the floor and looked at Sima Yue's relaxed face, saying, "Yue, we're all so tired. Why aren't you tired at all?" "I usually train my body. This kind of physical exhaustion is useless to me." Sima Yue shrugged and said, "You guys can rest here. I'll go and see if there's a spacious place nearby." After she finished speaking, she left, leaving the 4 of them to rest. After a while, Sima Yue came back after taking a stroll. Seeing that Fatty Chu and the rest had already rested, she said, "I just found a suitable place to set up camp. Shall we go over?" "All right." Sima Yue brought the others to the place she had her eyes on. Unexpectedly, someone had already set up camp there. It was a mercenary group that was setting up camp. Seeing Sima Yue and the rest coming over, a young man in his 20s or 30s smiled at them and said, "You guys have your eyes on this place too? This place is bigger, so we'll all gather here. If you don't mind, you can camp on the other side." Sima Yue looked at the others and asked for their opinion. "Just make do with it," Ouyang Fei said. "It's just for one night anyway." Bei Gong Tang didn't say anything. She immediately took out her own tent and prepared to set up camp. "Ouyang is right. Anyway, it's just for one night. Just put up with it," Wei Ziqi said. Seeing that everyone agreed, Sima Yue and Fatty Chu took out their own tents and set them up according to the shop owner's instructions. After he was done, he took out a large bed from his spatial ring and placed it in the middle of the tent. Damn, you even brought such a large bed when you went out? Fatty Chu, who had just finished packing his things, was stunned when he saw her large bed. Sima Yue was shocked by Fatty Chu's reaction. She glared at him and said, "What's there to be surprised about? Aren't you guys the same?" Fatty Chu pursed his lips and said, "Where would we have such a large space to put such a large bed?" Sima Yue didn't understand. Could it be that their spatial rings were very small? Our spatial rings are only as big as a house. If we put such a large bed in, we wouldn't need to bring anything else. Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yue with resentment. The general's young master was so good. His spatial ring was definitely a few times bigger than his own. Aren't these spatial rings the same size? Sima Yue asked. Fatty Chu rolled his eyes at Sima Yue and said, "How can spatial rings be the same size? A normal spatial ring is only 1 or 2 cubic meters in size. Mine is the size of a house. It's already considered very good." Hearing Fatty Chu's words, Sima Yue touched the spatial ring on her hand. Sima Lai had given it to her after she was able to cultivate. He said that her father had left it for her, and she had been using it ever since. Looking at the spatial ring that was as big as a luxurious villa, she didn't dare to imagine what rank her father had left behind. "Alright, stop complaining," Sima Yue said. "When there's a chance in the future, I'll get you a big one. Let's go see how Ouyang and the others are doing." When they went out, Wei Ziqi, Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei were already sitting in the middle of the campsite and chatting. The place they chose was filled with tall trees. The branches and leaves on the top were dense, but there were very few tree trunks on the bottom. It looked more spacious. Those mercenaries had also tidied up their campsite and were eating dinner in 2s and 3s. "Yue, you're done tidying up?" Wei Ziqi waved at Sima Yue. Sima Yue sized up those mercenaries. The youth who had spoken before felt her gaze and turned his head to smile at her before turning back to talk to his teammates. Sima Yue and the others chatted for a while before the youth stood up and walked over. Facing the 5 of them, he cupped his hands and said, "I am Qing Wuya from the Green Mountain Mercenary Group. Is this your first time coming to Puluo Mountain Range?" "Yes. Does young Master Qing have any business with us?" Wei Ziqi returned the greeting. "Looks like I guessed correctly." Qing Wuya said with a smile, "I just saw that you guys had set up camp for so long and had yet to eat dinner. I wanted to remind you that because there are more trees in the mountains, the sky gets dark earlier. So you guys can eat dinner earlier to avoid getting dark at night." "Many thanks for young Master Qing's reminder," Wei Ziqi said with a smile. "You're welcome. We mercenaries don't have the habit of being polite. If you don't mind, you can call me Big Brother Qing." "What, young Master Qing? I'm not used to it." Qing Wuya scratched the back of his head. He, Big Brother Qing. If Big Brother Qing has the time, why don't we sit down and chat?" Wei Ziqi said as he took out a chair from his spatial ring. Qing Wuya recognized that Wei Ziqi's spatial ring was not simple. It was definitely not something that an ordinary person could afford. Seeing that he had taken out a chair, he smiled and said, "Sure." "Big Brother Qing, do you guys come to Puluo Mountain Range often?" Wei Ziqi asked. "That's right. Puluo Mountain Range can be said to be the place that we mercenaries come to the most." Young Master Qing replied, "Then you guys should be more familiar with this place. Then can you tell us more about the situation here?" Wei Ziqi asked with a smile. Sima Yue looked at Wei Ziqi. This guy was handsome and had a warm smile. He also knew how to talk, giving people a kind of cultured and refined feeling. It made people unconsciously feel close to him. This kind of closeness was different from the closeness that came from her own spirit pearl. It was more of a personal charm. Chapter 72. Qing Wuya nodded his head and said, "That's fine. There are some places in the Puluo Mountain Range that are relatively dangerous. Telling you will save you the trouble of rushing in. /////. You guys continue chatting. I'll go and cook." Sima Yue said as she got up from the stool. What Qing Wuye said was right. The sky did indeed get dark earlier in the mountains, so dinner had to be eaten earlier. Everyone knew that she had a picky taste. As long as she had time, she would not eat dry food. Therefore, everyone was lucky to follow her. She came to an open space and took out all the cooking utensils, pots, bowls, ladles, and basins. The Green Mountain mercenaries were stunned. TSK, looks like he's from a big family. He even brought these things when he went out. A mercenary sighed as he looked at the Sima Yue guy. Of course. You can tell from the way they're dressed that they're not ordinary people. How big is this spatial ring? Alright, stop being envious. Let's drink. Sima Yue didn't care about the envy she had caused. She took out some dishes from her soul pearl and started to cook dinner. Qing Wuye was also shocked by Sima Yue's actions. This was the first time he met someone who even brought along a cooking utensil. Big brother Qing, don't be so surprised. She is rather picky about what she eats and doesn't like to eat dry rations. Wei Ziqi said, just now you said that there have been a lot of people coming to Puluo mountain range recently. Qing Wuye shifted his gaze away from Sima Yue's chef and nodded. That's right. This is something I discovered recently. Our Green Mountain mercenary group can be considered as one of the top mercenary groups in Yin City. We often go in and out of this Puluo mountain range. As long as there is even the slightest abnormality here, we will be able to see it. Although Puluo mountain range has always had a lot of people, but in the last half month, the number of people coming here has increased by a lot. Moreover, many of them are from big clans. Oh, why are there suddenly so many people? Fatty Chu asked curiously. At first, we didn't know either. Later, we accidentally heard some people say that some treasure seemed to have appeared, or some rare medicinal herb had matured. We don't know what it is exactly. Qing Wuye shrugged and said, because it doesn't have much to do with us. We didn't pay much attention to it. Big brother Qing is not interested in that thing? Wei Ziqi asked. It's not a matter of interest, but that thing is said to be either in the inner circle, or somewhere close to the inner circle. That's not a place we dare to go. That's why we should listen to it. Qing Wuye said, Brother Wei, don't be fooled by the name of that treasure. Although the treasure is good, you still need to be alive to enjoy it. Haha, we understand this logic. Wei Ziqi laughed. The inner region was the place where the saint beasts lived. Although the few of them were quite strong compared to their peers, they were not considered experts in the outside world. They did not have the guts to fight with the saint beasts. Sima Yue was cooking while listening to Qing Wuye's advice on what to pay attention to. When she heard him say treasure, her hands paused. Treasures, she loved them the most. If she had the chance, she would go and see them alone. Soon, a table full of dishes was prepared. The aroma wafted through the forest, attracting the attention of many people. Brother Sima's cooking is really fragrant. Qing Wuye smelled the aroma and could not help but praise. Haha, thank you big brother Qing for telling us about the Puluo mountain range. Since everyone is chatting so well, why don't we have a drink together? Wei Ziqi said. This isn't too good, right? Qing Wuye was a little embarrassed. There's a lot of food. Big brother Qing, let's eat together. Sima Yue said with a smile. This Qing Wuye was not bad, and the things he had just said were very useful to them. Inviting him to eat and drink together was not a big deal. Let's go big brother Qing. Yu's cooking is very good. If we wanted to eat outside, we wouldn't be able to. Let's go and have a few drinks. Wei Ziqi said. Since you've said so, then Wuye will disturb you. Qing Wuye smiled and cupped his hands. His impression of Wei Ziqi and the others was not bad. Although he could see that their identities were not ordinary, they did not have the arrogance of those big families. Sima Yue's cooking was naturally good for everyone to eat and drink. After eating, Qing Wuye was still lamenting that this was the best thing he had ever eaten. After dinner, the sky was about to turn dark. Qing Wuye also returned to his own mercenary group. Sima Yue and Bei Gongtang cleaned up the bowls and chopsticks, bringing them to a nearby stream to wash. We'll be entering the mountain tomorrow. Everyone should rest early. I'll keep watch tonight. When they returned, Ouyingfei said, No need. You should go and sleep too. Leave the night watch to Little Roar. Sima Yue looked at Little Roar, who was hugging a chicken drumstick and munching on it with relish. Ouyang Fei glanced at Little Roar and knew how powerful he was. He did not fight to keep watch and nodded to everyone before returning to his own tent. Good night, everyone, Wei Ziqi said as he also returned. Good night. Sima Yue returned to her own tent and sat cross-legged on the bed. Little Roar hugged a chicken drumstick and flew in. Little Roar, be careful tonight. No problem. Don't worry and sleep. Little Roar took a bite of the drumstick and said. Sima Yue nodded but did not sleep. Instead, she closed her eyes and transferred all her mental energy into her sea of consciousness. There, the Imperial Beast art and art of training soul quietly floated in midair. Her mental energy transformed into a miniature human and flew in front of the Imperial Beast art, reaching out her hand to pick it up. The Imperial Beast art did not have many words. It mainly talked about how to tame spirit beasts and how to form a contract. Looking at it, Sima Yue knew that the different forms of contracts had different results. Contracts were generally divided into life contracts, soul contracts, and master and servant contracts. Life contracts, as the name suggests, involved both parties in life and death. If one party died, the other party would also die. This was the most common form of contract. Sima Yue and that unknown Dan Dan had a life contract. A soul contract was a form of contract between two souls. This type of contract, even if the person died, as long as the soul was still there, the spirit beast would not die. Just like the contract between Little Roar and her. In a master and servant contract, the person was the master and the spirit beast was the servant. This type of contract, even if the spirit beast died, the master would not die. At most, the master would lose some strength. This type of contract was the most unacceptable for spirit beasts. Normally, a life contract and a soul contract could only form one. That was why when the egg felt Sima Yue and Little Roar's soul contract, it chose the life contract. Now people only knew about life contracts and master and servant contracts. Very few people knew about the soul contract. In addition, contracts were closely related to a person's mental energy. The stronger the mental energy, the more spirit beasts one could form contracts with. Normal spirit masters could only form a contract with one spirit beast. Those who were stronger could form a contract with a second spirit beast. For Sima Yue to be able to form a contract with 3 spirit beasts, with her current strength, she was already a pervert among perverts. This book came from Chapter 73. After she finished reading The Art of Taming Beast, she realized that the method wasn't difficult at all. She didn't know how it had been lost. At the end of the book, it said that the level of the tamed spirit beast was also linked to the spiritual force required. The higher the level of the spirit beast, the stronger the spiritual force required. This was similar to alchemy. So looks like I still have to improve my mental strength first. Sima Yue sighed. Previously, she only thought that cultivating spiritual power was important. She did not expect that the cultivation of the soul and spiritual power were equally important. She put down The Art of Taming Beast and walked to the front of The Art of Refining Soul. She took down the book, and the silver light on the book disappeared, allowing her to see the book in its entirety. She gently flipped to the first page, and a sentence on it made her heart tremble violently. The highest level of soul refining allows one's soul to exist outside one's body. Sima Yue muttered these words and thought of Emo Sha Na's transparent and illusory soul. Is it because he cultivated this that his soul is able to exist in this world? Looks like this soul refining art is really something. As he continued to read, he found that some of the levels of soul refinement were mentioned. The beginning was the small success stage, followed by the deity transformation stage, followed by the void refinement stage, and finally the Mahayana stage. The strength of the soul was expressed through the spiritual power. When one's mental power reached a certain range, they would be able to sense things within a kilometer around them. In the divinity transformation stage, one's spiritual energy could be condensed into a concrete shape outside of his body. At the void refinement realm, the second form of the mental power was condensed. At the Mahayana realm, One's soul would be able to transcend. Every stage had a huge gap between them, and every time they crossed a level, there would be huge gains. Sima Yue took a look at it. At the beginning it was relatively simple. There were only a few chances to cultivate the soul, and then there were some methods to increase one's mental strength. It seems that soul refining and spiritual energy are closely related, and both are indispensable. No wonder Mo Shah said that after refining my soul, my mental strength would also increase. Sighing, she exited her sea of consciousness and began to practice according to the chants in the book. Time flew by when one was cultivating. When Sima Yue was awakened from her cultivation state by Little Roar, the sky was already bright. He didn't expect that he had unknowingly cultivated for an entire night. Moreover, he felt refreshed and didn't feel the slightest bit tired from not sleeping for an entire night. Looks like I can practice this if I have nothing to do at night. She got down from the bed, tidied her clothes, and put away the things in the tent into her spatial ring. Then she put away the tent as well. Brother Sima, you're up too. Qing Wuya saw that Sima Yue had finished packing and greeted him with a smile. Morning, big brother Qing. Sima Yue smiled and nodded at him, then went to the stream to wash up. When she came back, she took out the pots and pans to make breakfast. When she was making breakfast, Bei Gong Tang and the others also woke up one after another. They packed their own things and waited for breakfast. Brother Wei, we are going to enter the mountains. Remember what I told you last night. Don't go to any dangerous places. Qing Wuya said to Wei Ziqi after they had finished packing up. Big brother Qing wants to enter the mountains so early? Wei Ziqi said as he looked at the mercenary group that was already fully equipped. Our mission this time is rather important, but time is rather tight, so we have to go in earlier. Qing Wuya replied. If that's the case, then I hope Big Brother Qing can complete the mission as soon as possible. Wei Ziqi said. Thank you, Brother Wei. See you next time. See you next time. Qing Wuya cupped his hands towards Sima Yue and the others, then returned to his own group and said, Let's go. Fatty Chu watched Qing Wuya and the others leave and said, This Green Mountain mercenary group is not bad. They're all right. They're much better than the ones we met before. Let's eat. Sima Yue placed the food on the table and called out to everyone. Unlike the Green Mountain mercenary group, who were in a rush, Sima Yue and the others ate breakfast before heading into the mountains. This time, they had to collect a few types of medicinal ingredients, and each person had to hand over a spirit beast corpse. The mission was very important. With Sima Yue around, the task of finding medicinal ingredients became much easier. Because she was familiar with the attributes of the medicinal ingredients and knew what kind of environment they grew in, the scope of the search was much smaller. A day later, they found their first medicinal ingredient. Yue, I didn't think that you would be so familiar with medicinal ingredients. Wei Ziqi looked at the medicinal ingredients lying in the box inside. That's right, Yue. How come we didn't know that you were so familiar with medicinal ingredients? Fatty Chu said. It's not like you're with me 24/7. How would you know everything that I know? Sima Yue glanced at Fatty Chu and did not answer their question directly. Right now, we've found the Earth's core grass, as well as the flame grass and the other 4 medicinal ingredients. Ouyang Fei said. I know about the flame grass. It grows in places that face the sun. However, the flame grass will always be guarded by stronger spirit beasts. Bei Gong Tang furrowed her eyebrows and said, I suggest that we look for the flame grass last. Let's look for the other medicinal ingredients first. Wei Ziqi said. Agreed. Sima Yue nodded. The spirit beasts around Puluo Mountain Range are not high-ranked. If we meet them, we can also practice. Good. Then let's continue looking. Wei Ziqi said. They left the valley and not long after, another group of people arrived at the place they were at. Boss, that group of people doesn't have any pattern at all. We can't set a trap. One of them said. Even if there's no way, we still have to think of a way. The black-clothed man said. She caused Nalan Lan to be expelled from the academy. I definitely have to take revenge for her. Boss, we can't just directly act against them. What should we do? Another person asked. The black-clothed man was silent for a while before saying, "Didn't they say that they wanted to look for spirit beasts to practice? We'll find them a target to practice on. If they're killed by the spirit beasts in the mountain range, the academy won't blame us." "But boss, I heard that those people's ranks are relatively high. Other than that trash Sima Yue, the others are not worse than us. How can we make them be killed by the spirit beasts? I have my ways. Do you know where there are spirit beasts that live in groups?" The black-clothed man said, "Boss, I know. I've heard a mercenary mention it before." "That's good. Let's go. We'll find them a spirit beast to practice on." Sima Yoyue's group of 5 searched the mountain for an entire day. They didn't find anything, but in the process of searching, they met a 6th-level spirit beast. They worked together and quickly killed it, allowing Sima Yue to keep it. As for why she was the one to keep it, it was because her spatial ring was the largest. Just as they were resting, Sima Yue suddenly felt a sense of danger and subconsciously stood up. "Yue, what's wrong?" Fatty Chu looked at Sima Yoyue's nervous expression and asked. "There's movement," Sima Yue said. Before the others could speak, they heard a flurry of footsteps. Following that, a pack of flame wolves appeared in everyone's line of sight and quickly ran towards them. So many spirit beasts. Fatty Chu saw so many flame wolves and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Chapter 74. Not only Fatty Chu, Bei Gong Tang, and the others were also stunned by the horde of beasts. "Help!" As the beasts got closer, Sima Yue and the rest saw a figure running in front of the beasts. "Awoo!" The wolf pack's wild howls made the man shudder. However, when he saw Sima Yue and the rest, he gritted his teeth and ran towards them. Sima Yue saw that person running towards them, and immediately reacted. She shouted and ran, pulling Bei Gong Tang who was beside her, and ran towards the back. Hearing her shout, Wei Ziqi and the rest finally reacted. They didn't even have the time to pack their things before running away. "Help! Friends in front, help!" That person shouted when he saw Sima Yue and the rest running away. "Save your sister!" Sima Yue scolded as she pulled Bei Gong Tang to speed up. However, the 5 of them had limited leg strength, so how could they outrun the flame wolf? Seeing the spirit beast getting closer and closer, as well as the black-clothed man, Fatty Chu cursed. F***ck, how can this guy run so fast? Soon, the man who was being chased by the fire wolves caught up with them. Seeing the wolf cub in his arms, Sima Yue finally understood why he was being chased all over the mountain by the fire wolves. "Mother ***, why are you hugging the wolf pup? Give it back to him." That person seemed to have regained his senses after hearing Sima Yoyue's words. He lowered his head and looked at the wolf cub in his arms. He threw the wolf cub into Fatty Chu's arms and ran off in another direction. F***ck, are you trying to kill me? Fatty Chu subconsciously caught the wolf cub. By the time he understood what was going on, that person had already disappeared. Sima Yue watched as that person quickly ran out of their line of sight, and her eyes flashed with suspicion. "Fatty Chu, why are you still hugging the wolf pup? Quickly throw it away!" Wei Ziqi shouted. Fatty Chu hurriedly threw the wolf cubs away, but other than 1 or 2 who ran to the wolf cubs, the rest continued to chase after them. "We can't run anymore. Looks like we can only fight them head-on." Ouyang Fei saw that the wolves were still chasing after him. He took out his weapon and turned around to kill the wolves. The others also understood that the pack of wolves had set their sights on them. No matter how long they ran, they would not give up. Moreover, they had been running for so long that their physical strength was somewhat exhausted. When their last bit of strength was exhausted, it would be easy for the wolf pack to kill them. Sima Yue wasn't too worried about the wolves behind her. Little Roar and Yaguang could easily intimidate them, but she didn't plan to do so. If he had gotten used to relying on his contracted beast from the very beginning, it would have been impossible for him to become stronger in the future. "Let's go all out." Wei Ziqi also stopped in his tracks and called out his contracted spirit beast to battle with the flame wolf. "I'm not running anymore, damn it." Fatty Chu also called out his own spirit beast, took out his axe and chopped towards the flame wolf. Bei Gong Tang didn't call out her own spirit beast, only stopping in her tracks. She condensed a spirit ball in her hands and threw it towards the flame wolf. Sima Yue took a look. Ouyang Fei's spirit beast was a 9th level low spirit beast, Cloud Leopard. It looked like it was about to become a holy beast. Fatty Chu's spirit beast was a 7th level low spirit beast, Charm Fox. That fox's figure was much smaller than the flame wolf, but its battle prowess wasn't weak at all. Although Wei Ziqi's spirit beast's rank wasn't as high as Ouyang Fei's, it was still a rare fire lizard. With a sweep of its tail, a flame wolf was sent flying. Sima Yu took out the dagger that Ling Long had transformed into and leapt in front of a flame wolf. Just as it was about to pounce on her, Sima Yu quickly stabbed the dagger in between its eyebrows and pulled it out before it could even react. Ouyang Fei and the others didn't think that Sima Yu would be able to kill a wolf so quickly and looked at her in shock. The space between the eyebrows and 3 inches below the neck are the weakest parts of the flame wolf. Attacking these 2 places is the most effective, Sima Yue said. How did you know? Although the timing wasn't right, Fatty Chu still asked. Teacher talked about it in class, Sima Yue said. Everyone then came to a realization. It seemed that when the teacher was talking about the spirit beasts in the Puluo mountain range, he had indeed talked about it. However, everyone didn't really pay attention. If it wasn't for her reminder, they wouldn't have remembered that there was such a lesson. This speed needs to be fast. Otherwise, we will be injured by the pack of wolves, Ouyang Fei said. Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong are stronger in close combat. The 3 of us will be in charge of close combat. Ziqi and Fatty Chu, the 2 of you will mainly use your spiritual energy to attack. Sima Yue said. We are now a team. If we want to charge out alive, we need to work hard together. Everyone looked at the pack of wolves surrounding them and nodded their heads, acknowledging Sima Yue's words. Ziqi, Fatty Chu, we will be on the outside. You guys will be in the middle. Try to condense your spiritual energy as quickly as possible. If one of us is attacked, the 2 of you will be in danger, Ouyang Fei warned. You guys can relax, Fatty Chu promised. Sima Yue looked at Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi and said seriously. In the past, I rarely trusted my back to others because it was a very dangerous thing to do. Today, the 3 of us will entrust our backs to you guys. You guys have to guard it for us. When Wei Ziqi and the other 3 heard Sima Yue's words, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. What she said was right. In the past, they were all lone wolves. Even in their own families, they didn't trust anyone to entrust their backs to. However, today, they had exposed their backs in front of them, because they had no choice and because they trusted them. You guys can relax. We are a team. We will always be partners that you can entrust your backs to, Wei Ziqi said emotionally. Yes, we will always be partners that you can entrust your backs to, Fatty Chu said with certainty. Sima Yue smiled faintly and said, That's good. Let's start the battle. Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei looked at each other and saw the thick fighting spirit in each other's eyes, as well as the camaraderie that was born in this difficult situation. Charge! Ouyang Fei was still the first to rush to the front of the wolf pack. Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang also followed closely behind. The 3 of them and the 3 spirit beasts unknowingly formed an encirclement, surrounding Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi in the middle, giving them enough time to condense their spirit qi. As for Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi, they condensed spirit balls. Seeing who was in danger, or who was having a hard time fighting, they threw the spirit balls in that direction. Sometimes, they would directly throw their spirit chi balls into the wolf pack's ranks, causing them to howl in pain. Half an hour later, because there were too many casualties, the leader of the flame wolves unwillingly led his subordinates and ran away with their tails between their legs. Once the wolf pack left, everyone collapsed to the ground. Their bodies were covered in wounds that were still bleeding. The battle just now had already exhausted their strength. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi also chose to directly fight the wolf pack after their spirit chi was exhausted. Sima Yue took out a medicine bottle and ate a pill before passing the jade bottle to Bei Gong Tang. Bei Gong Tang poured out 4 pills for everyone to eat. We have to leave this place now, The commotion just now and the smell of blood might attract other spirit beasts. Seeing that everyone was exhausted, Sima Yue went up and kept all the corpses of the flame wolves into her spatial ring. Chapter 75. Just as Sima Yue and the rest were fighting with the wolf pack, the man who attracted the wolf pack quickly ran across the mountain and ran towards another mountain. He soon met up with his teammates. Huangxi, how was it? The person who had been waiting at the original spot saw that his teammate had returned and asked. When I ran, the wolves had already surrounded Sima Yue and the rest. Huangxi removed a piece of paper with strange runes drawn on it from his body and handed it over to the black-clothed man, saying, "Boss, what is this? After I put it on, my speed increased a lot. It's as if these legs don't belong to me." "Don't ask what it is." The black-clothed man took back the talisman and said, "Have those wolves really surrounded them?" "It's really boss," Huangxi guaranteed. "There are 30 to 40 flame wolves. Even if their strength is not weak, it is impossible for them to fight against so many flame wolves." "That's good," the black-clothed man said. "Humph. Even though they won't be able to live, it's still a great pity that I can't personally end that trash's life." "Boss, should we go take a look at how they died?" Huangxi asked. "Not going." The boss shook his head and said, "If we encounter a pack of wolves, we will be in trouble. Moreover, the smell of blood can easily attract nearby spirit beasts. Since we know that they won't be able to survive, there's no need for us to put ourselves in danger." "Boss is right. We have our own mission here. Now that we've taken care of Sima Yue, it's time for us to complete our mission. Let's go." After the black-clothed boss finished speaking, he led his team members towards another mountain. On the other side, Ouyang Fei and the others kept their contracted beasts back into the contract space and helped each other out of the forest. After walking for a while, they arrived at a river. Seeing the empty space beside the river, Sima Yue said, "This place is far enough from the battlefield. Let's clean our wounds here." "All right." Wei Ziqi helped Fatty Chu sit down on a large rock by the riverside, and he himself also sat down by the side. Although they had taken the pills given by Sima Yue, the effect of the level 1 healing pills was slow and not very effective. It was impossible for their wounds to heal in a short time. Ouyang Fei came to the riverside and took off his shirt to wash the wounds on his upper body. Sima Yue glanced at him and realized that there were many scars on his body. Sima Yue took out a basin and went to the riverside to fill it with water. She came to Fatty Chu's side and reached out to take off his clothes. "Ah, Yue, what are you doing?" When Fatty Chu saw Sima Yue taking off his clothes, he subconsciously screamed and covered his chest with his hands. Sima Yue was speechless. Why was this guy overreacting? "If you feel that pulling at your wound doesn't hurt, I don't mind you continuing to hug me like this." As she spoke, she glanced at the wound on Fatty Chu's body. After hearing her words, Fatty Chu finally remembered the injuries on his body. Just now, when he moved, his wounds hurt even more and he couldn't help but cry out. Sima Yue pulled his hand down and cut his clothes with a pair of scissors, revealing the wounds on his shoulders and back. Of course, that pair of scissors was unwillingly transformed by Ling Long. She really couldn't understand why her master would make her transform into such weird and useless weapons. For convenience, Sima Yue cut off all of Fatty Chu's clothes and took out a piece of cotton cloth. She dipped it in the basin of water and washed the blood off the wounds. After that, she took out a bottle of medicinal powder and sprinkled it evenly on his wounds. Finally, she used a strip of cloth to bandage his wounds. Wei Ziqi came back from the riverside after washing the blood off his body. Seeing Sima Yue's skillful movements, he teased, "I didn't think that Yue would be so skillful at bandaging wounds." "I used to get injured often," Sima Yue replied. She was referring to her past life when she was an assassin. However, Fatty Chu and the rest understood that she used to be beaten up by the people around Morongan. "Yue, don't worry. In the future, if anyone dares to beat you up, I, Fatty Chu, will be the first to stop them." Fatty Chu looked at the strip of cloth on his arm and said. Sima Yue smiled and went behind him. She sprinkled the medicinal powder on his back and carefully bandaged it. It's done. Sima Yue finished tying the knot and said, "This medicinal powder is very useful for treating wounds. When used together with pills, the effect is even better. Ouyang, you guys have wounds on your bodies too. I'll bandage them for you too. I'll do it myself." Ouyang Fei wasn't used to others touching his body, so he took the bottle of medicine from Sima Yue and bandaged his own wounds. However, because one of the wounds was on his arm, he had no choice but to let her help. When Sima Yue finished bandaging Wei Ziqi and Bei Gongtang's wounds, Fatty Chu suddenly thought of something and looked at Sima Yue strangely. "What's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that?" Sima Yue was a little scared by Fatty Chu's gaze. "Yue, we're all injured, but you're not," Fatty Chu said. When he said this, Wei Ziqi, Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei also thought of something. They were all injured, but Sima Yue wasn't injured at all. Cough cough this. Sima Yue didn't know how to reply, and pretended to cough twice. "Haha, we were worried that you would be in danger when you came to the mountain. So you're the one who hid your strength well." Wei Ziqi suddenly laughed and said, "Hee hee." Sima Yue rubbed her nose and laughed. "You're very strong." Ouyang Fei looked at Sima Yue and said, during the battle, he realized that Sima Yue was fast and accurate every time she killed the flame wolves. Although she knew the weaknesses of the flame wolves, this was inseparable from her strength. "Today's matter, I keep feeling that something is wrong," Bei Gongtang said. "You realized it too?" Ouyang Fei looked at Bei Gongtang. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who realized that something was wrong. "What's wrong?" Fatty Chu looked at the few of them puzzled. "Everything is wrong," Wei Ziqi said. What?" Sima Yue looked at Fatty Chu's puzzled expression and said, "Don't you think that person's appearance is very strange?" "What's strange about that person?" Fatty Chu asked. Sima Yue looked at him with disdain. She had already said so much, but this guy still didn't understand. "Fatty Chu, that person today seems to have the same strength as us. He might even be weaker than us. But why would he come to the dangerous Puluo mountain range alone? Where are his companions?" Wei Ziqi explained patiently. Fatty Chu blinked his eyes and said, "Hearing you say that, it's a little strange." "That's not the only strange thing." Sima Yue smiled faintly, a cold glint in her eyes. The friendship between men was actually very pure. As long as I recognized you, you would be my brother. After a few months of interaction, Ouyang Fei also knew their characters and slowly accepted them. His cold heart was also warmed up bit by bit. Sima Yue smiled as she looked at the three of them and said, Hey, count me in." "Haha, we won't forget about you," Fatty Chu said with a big laugh. Bei Gongtang looked at the happy and harmonious people, and loneliness flashed across her eyes. As if she couldn't stand the scene in front of her, she stood up and left. "What's wrong with Bei Gong?" Everyone looked at each other in dismay, their eyes filled with confusion. "I'll go and see her." Sima Yue stood up and walked in the direction that Bei Gongtang left. Bei Gongtang came to the side of the river and stared blankly at the surface of the river. When she heard movement behind her, she turned her head and saw Sima Yue. She asked, "Why are you here? I should be the one asking you this. Why did you run out alone?" Sima Yue came to Bei Gongtang's side and kicked a stone into the river, causing ripples. "What's wrong with me?" Bei Gongtang shook her head. "You're purposely distancing yourself from everyone," Sima Yue said. Bei Gongtang was stunned and denied. "I'm not." "You are." Sima Yue looked at Bei Gongtang. "We've known each other for a few months now, and you've always kept a distance from everyone. Just now you left because you saw Ouyang Fei and Ziqi, right?" Bei Gongtang didn't speak, and only stared at the surface of the river. "You're worried, right?" Sima Yue continued. "Worried about your mother and brother." Hearing Sima Yue's words, Bei Gongtang's aura immediately changed. She looked at her warily and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Sima Yue wasn't frightened by her and smiled. "You don't have to be nervous. I don't know where your house is, and I don't know what you've been through. I don't even know why you're so sensitive." I just saw the worry in your eyes. Really? Sima Yue shrugged. I'm considered a household name in the capital, although my reputation isn't very good. My whereabouts have never been a secret. Bei Gongtang stared at her for a while before she thought of something, and turned to look at the river. Although she didn't say anything, she wasn't as cold as before. Sima Yue saw this and knew that she wasn't so guarded against her. She pursed her lips and said, although I used to be alone, I recently realized that it's not bad to be with someone. No matter how you were in the past, or what you'll encounter in the future, we're all together at this stage. Don't forget that we're comrades who fought side by side. We're now people who can trust each other with our backs. If you want to find someone to talk to, we'll always be here. Bei Gongtang nodded, indicating that she understood. All right, let's go back. They saw you leave without a word, and were all worried about you. Sima Yue patted Bei Gongtang's shoulder and said. When they returned to the campsite, Wei Ziqi and the others heaved a sigh of relief and started to chat. Although Bei Gongtang didn't interrupt much, she would occasionally reply to what they said. Sima Yue looked at the few of them, and realized that the battle this time had brought them closer. If they were a team in the past, they were now comrades who fought together. At night, everyone returned to their own tents to rest. Bei Gongtang laid on her small bed and dozed off. Her eyes suddenly opened, and were filled with uncontrollable joy. Mengji, you're awake? Master, I was injured too badly last time. I'm only awake temporarily. A female voice sounded in Bei Gongtang's mind. Mengji, you were injured to this extent, because you wanted to protect me when I left. It's already been so many years, and you still need to rely on sleep to recover. Bei Gongtang blamed herself. Master, you don't have to blame yourself. Protecting you is what I should do. Mengji said. Master, I didn't wake up for long this time. I'll tell you the reason why I woke up. I feel that there's a medicine in the mountains that's about to mature. If I can take it, I'll be completely healed. Master, if it's possible. Mengji's voice became softer and softer. She didn't even finish speaking before she fell asleep again. Mengji, since that medicine is good for your injuries, I'll definitely get it for you. Bei Gongtang tightened her grip on her clothes when she thought of the unconscious Mengji. Chapter 77. At the same time, in Sima Yue's tent, she was surprised to see Emosha come out. I didn't call you. How did you come out? I can enter and exit this spirit pearl as I wish, unless your strength is higher than mine. Emosha said. All right. Sima Yue shrugged and said. What are you doing out here this time? Emosha looked towards the inner area and said. I smell something. Taste. What was that smell? Why can't I smell anything? Sima Yue sniffed hard, but did not find anything special. It's far from here. How could you smell it now? Emosha said. What is it that attracted you here? Sima Yue asked curiously. Golden snake fruit. What? When Sima Yue heard about the golden snake fruit, the first thing that came to her mind was the bright red apple-like fruit on Earth in her previous life. However, she knew that it was definitely not an ordinary thing. Then, the information about the golden snake fruit appeared in his mind. Last time, she had seen it in a medical book in the Soul Pearl. The golden snake fruit was a kind of golden yellow fruit. It took 700 years to bloom, 700 years to bear fruit, and 700 years to mature. Each time, it would only bear 7 fruits. Eating the fruit directly could raise one's cultivation level. However, one could only eat the size of a fingernail at a time. Otherwise, there would be too much energy in one's body, and it would be easy for one's meridians to explode. If it was refined into a pill, such a situation would not occur. However, this kind of pill would cost at least tens of thousands of gold coins. It was hundreds of times more precious than the pill she had eaten before, which cost dozens of gold coins per pill. Not only did the fruit have the effect of increasing one's strength, even the leaves and roots were treasures. Therefore, once the golden snake fruit was discovered, it would be the object that everyone would fight over. However, this golden snake fruit was not so easy to obtain, not to mention the fact that there were spirit beasts guarding the area. Once the fruit ripened, its fragrance would spread for thousands of miles, attracting all the spirit beasts nearby. This was because this thing was not only useful to humans, but also to spirit beasts that consumed it. I didn't expect the golden snake fruit to be so attractive that even you are tempted, Sima Yue teased. It's not easy to find a heavenly treasure. Emosha didn't deny it. And this thing is also beneficial to you. What benefits? Raise my cultivation level? Sima Yue was excited when she heard that there were benefits. Emosha shook his head. Most people only know that it can raise one's cultivation, but very few people know that at the same time, it's also a great nourishment for the soul. Your soul was once seriously injured, and this will greatly affect your cultivation and alchemy in the future. If you can have the nourishment of the golden snake fruit tree, it will have a great effect on the recovery of your soul. Huh? It can even heal souls? Sima Yue looked at Emosha in shock. That's right. This golden snake fruit absorbs the moonlight and then transforms it in the body, emitting a milky white gas. This gas is beneficial to the human soul, Emosha explained. Even if the soul isn't injured, under its long-term nourishment, it will become even stronger. So good. It was indeed a treasure. Hehe, I must get my hands on this thing. Sima Yue immediately sat up and looked at Emosha, who turned around to look at her. She smiled and said, I know, you also want this thing to heal your soul. Otherwise, why would a guy who doesn't wake up early without benefits come out and tell me all this? I can feel that there's at least one spirit beast around the golden snake fruit. Emosha said. Also, when the golden snake fruit ripens, it will attract a large group of spirit beasts. Adding on the humans that have been attracted recently, it won't be easy to steal it. You will help me, Sima Yue said with certainty. Oh, you're quite confident. Emosha raised his eyebrows. Of course, Sima Yue said confidently. If this thing had nothing to do with you, perhaps you wouldn't make a move. However, your soul has left your body for who knows how many years, and your injuries aren't any lighter than mine. Although the spirit pearl can nourish you, the effects aren't fast. If you can add on the golden snake fruit tree, you can recover even faster. Therefore, you are also determined to obtain this golden snake fruit. I can't easily make a move, Emosha said. I know, you just have to make a move when necessary. Sima Yue waved her hand and said. This golden snake fruit is very picky about the environment it grows in. I don't know why it grew in a low-level world like the Yilin continent this time, Emosha said suspiciously. Who knows? Maybe it knows that you're useful to me, so it grew. Sima Yue said jokingly. Emosha's mouth twitched at her words, and he was too lazy to reply to her. He closed his eyes and sensed for a while, then opened them and said, The golden snake fruit still needs 20 days to ripen. It's best if you can go 2 days earlier to observe the situation. I understand. Sima Yue nodded. Seeing this, Emosha's body turned into a wisp of black smoke and returned to the spirit pearl. Sima Yue once again laid on the bed and muttered to herself, 20 days. I've already gathered enough spirit beast corpses. Now all that's left is to find the herbs. It should be done in half a month. However, the inner regions are so dangerous. When the time comes, it's better if I go by myself to prevent them from falling into danger. However, how do I make them leave? Forget it. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'll think about it when the time comes. After thinking it through, Sima Yue closed her eyes and silently chanted the soul-refining art in her heart, beginning to cultivate her soul. After a day and night of recuperation, in addition to the effects of pills, Fatty Chu and the others' injuries were more or less healed. At the very least, there was no problem for them to rush on the road. Thinking that there were still a few herbs to find, everyone packed their things and set off on the second day. In order to seize the time, Sima Yue threw Little Roar out and got him to find a spirit beast that could talk and ask her where the herbs grew. She then brought everyone to pick them directly. Even so, they still spent 12 days to pick all the herbs. At the boundary between the inner and outer regions, Sima Yue and the others kept the flame grass in the valley into their own spatial rings. Hehe, I really didn't expect that there would be so much flame grass here. Fatty Chu said happily. Bei Gong, didn't you say that there was danger near the flame grass? How come we didn't even find a single spirit beast? Bei Gong Tang was also a little suspicious, saying, logically speaking, there should be spirit beasts gathering here. How come there aren't any? They should have been attracted by the movements in the inner regions. Sima Yue said, we haven't met many spirit beasts these past few days. It's said that when a few heavenly treasures appear, it will cause a huge commotion. They probably went to join in the fun. So it's like that. Fatty Chu nodded his head, pretending to be serious. After harvesting all the aged flame grass, their mission this time could be considered to have been completed successfully. Wei Ziqi looked at Sima Yue's back. He originally thought that bringing her along would be a burden, but he didn't expect that after coming here, she would be the biggest help to everyone. Our mission has already been completed. When are we going back? Wei Ziqi asked. Hearing his words, Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang's body stiffened. Chapter 78. You guys can go back first. I want to stay in the mountain range for a few more days. Bei Gong Tang spoke first. Why, Bei Gong? Are you not leaving with us? Wei Ziqi asked. Bei Gong Tang looked in the direction of the inner regions and said, I still have things to do. I won't be going with you guys. Bei Gong, this mountain is very dangerous. You're alone. Fatty Chu said worriedly. I have something that I must do. Bei Gong Tang interrupted Fatty Chu. Sima Yue saw that Bei Gong Tang's attitude was firm, and guessed that she should also want to snatch the golden snake fruit. From the looks of it, she must have had her reasons. You want to seize that treasure? Ouyang Fei said. Really? Fatty Chu looked at Bei Gong Tang and asked. Bei Gong Tang was stunned for a moment. She did not think that Ouyang Fei would be able to guess it so quickly. She nodded and said, yes. Bei Gong. Yesterday we heard from the passers-by that the treasure is in the inner regions. Let's not talk about how dangerous the inner regions are. During this period of time, many experts have come here. It's not like you don't know that if you want to snatch the treasure from their hands, you have to have the strength to do so. Wei Ziqi said seriously. I know. Bei Gong Tang said. But I must obtain that thing. Why? Ouyang Fei asked. Bei Gong Tang was silent for a while before saying, I have my reasons. You guys go out first, don't wait for me. No, if you don't tell us the reason, we won't let you go. Wei Ziqi said resolutely and decisively. We are comrades who have fought together. We will not leave you alone, nor will we let you take the risk alone. That's right, Bei Gong, we won't let you stay here alone. Fatty Chu agreed. Bei Gong Tang was stunned when she heard this. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Sima Yue came to Bei Gong Tang's side and patted her shoulder, saying, Is your contracted beast injured? How did you know? Bei Gong Tang was extremely shocked. This Sima Yue was always able to tell her true thoughts. I guessed, Sima Yue said. Bei Gong, is that really the case? Fatty Chu asked. Bei Gong Tang nodded, saying, A few years ago I met with danger. In order to save me, my contracted beast suffered a very serious injury. All these years, it has been in deep sleep to heal. A few days ago, he told me that if I could get that treasure, he could wake up. She fell into a deep sleep to save me. Now that I know there's something that can heal her, I won't give up. After she finished speaking, everyone else fell silent. Sima Yue hugged her shoulder and said, I wanted to see the treasure myself. Since that's the case, I'll go with you. You also want to go? Wei Ziqi and Fatty Chu called out at the same time. Even Ouyang Fei looked at the two of them in disagreement. That's right. Sima Yue nodded. I'll go with Bei Gong. You three can go first. Don't tell us to go back first. Fatty Chu said. If you want to go, I'll go with you. Wei Ziqi thought for a while and said, Although I don't know what that thing is that it's so attractive to the two of you, since you want to go, count me in. One more person means one more strength. I won't leave alone either. Ouyang Fei said. You guys. Bei Gong Tang looked at Wei Ziqi and the others. Seeing the smile on Sima Yue's face, she suddenly felt her nose sour. That warm feeling in her heart had not appeared for a long time. She always felt that she was not close to them, but she never thought that they would treat her like this. Alright, since everyone wants to go, the treasure won't just be for you. Sima Yue said with a smile when she saw how touched Bei Gong Tang was. Yue, what do you mean? Fatty Chu asked. Since everyone has decided to go together, I'll explain the situation there to everyone. After I'm done, you guys can decide if you want to go or not. Sima Yue said. Yue, how did you know? Don't ask me how I know. Just listen to what I have to say. Sima Yue said. That treasure is the golden snake fruit that rarely appears in this world. What kind of treasure is the golden snake fruit? Ouyang Fei and Bei Gong Tang were shocked, while Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi were puzzled. Although Bei Gong Tang knew that the treasure was not ordinary, she never thought that it would actually be the golden snake fruit. No wonder Meng Ji would wake up and tell her this. The golden snake fruit blossoms every 700 years, bears fruit every 700 years, and ripens every 700 years. If the golden snake fruit is taken directly, it can raise a person's cultivation. The effect of refining it into a pill is even better. So it's a treasure that people and spirit beasts fight over. Sima Yue explained. Damn, it's so powerful. Fatty Chu said in shock. That's why it attracted so many treasures. Sima Yue said. But now is not the time to discuss the value of the golden snake fruit. You guys also know that there will always be powerful spirit beasts by the side of treasures. This golden snake fruit is protected by a spirit beast. Spirit beast. The other four sucked in a breath. This spirit beast was in existence comparable to a spirit paragon. If it was placed in the continent, it would be a peak existence. If they wanted to snatch the 7 golden snake fruits from the spirit beast's mouth, the difficulty could be imagined. Not only that, Sima Yue continued to speak. When this golden snake fruit ripens, its fragrance will spread for thousands of miles, attracting all the spirit beasts nearby. Recently, we have rarely met any powerful spirit beasts. Because the golden snake fruit is about to ripen, those spirit beasts have all gone to the inner regions. So other than that spirit beast, we may meet countless spirit beasts. Hiss! Everyone had already been shocked speechless by her words. Also, Sima Yue looked at their expressions and wanted to tell them if what she said was correct. Also, there are those experts who have come to the mountain in the past month, right? Ouyang Fei said. Sima Yue nodded her head. They had been in the mountain for half a month and had seen many powers go to the inner regions. She did not need to say this, everyone understood. Oh my god, this battle formation is too scary. Fatty Chu found his voice after a long time and sighed. So you have to consider carefully whether you want to go or not. Sima Yue said. Bei Gong and I have our reasons for not going, but you don't have to take the risk. After all, although that thing is good, it is also very dangerous. Hearing her words, Wei Ziqi and the others were silent for a while before saying seriously, since it's so dangerous, wouldn't it be more dangerous for you to go alone? Let's go together and take a look. If it's really impossible, don't force it. I promised young Master Yule that I would take good care of you. If you don't go back, how can I go back? Fatty Chu said. I'm interested in that treasure. Ouyang Fei said. Bei Gong Tang sniffled and suppressed her emotions. She looked at them and said, no matter what the result is, Bei Gong will never forget your friendship. I want to go myself, so you don't have to count me in. Sima Yue said as she shrugged her shoulders. Seeing her shameless expression, Bei Gong Tang smiled happily for the first time. Chapter 79. This was the first time everyone had seen Bei Gong Tang smile. In the past, she was always icy cold. This smile made people feel dazzled. Cough cough. Wei Ziqi was the first to regain his senses. Pretending to cough twice, he said, where is this golden snake fruit? How long will it take to ripen? With so many people and spirit beasts eyeing it, should we come up with a countermeasure? When Wei Ziqi said this, everyone's eyebrows furrowed. Just the thought of that divine beast was enough to give them a headache. On top of that, all the spirit beasts in the mountain range had been attracted over, as well as those who were eyeing them covetously. Without a plan, it would be very difficult for them to succeed. This golden snake fruit still has 7 days to mature. Let's first find the place, and then check out the situation there. Let's think of a countermeasure later. Sima Yue said. But where is the golden snake fruit? Which direction should we go? Fatty Chu asked. I know the general direction. If we go to the inner region, it should be easy to find that place. Sima Yue said. Since that's the case, let's go check out the situation first. Ouyang Fei said. Wait. Sima Yue called out to them. Seeing that they had turned around to look at her, she said. The fire wolf's corpse has always been with me. I'll give it to you now. If we're forced to separate, you can take it back to complete the mission. As she spoke, she took out all the corpses of the fire wolves from her interspatial ring. She gave each of them a few corpses and put them into their own interspatial rings. Then they began their journey. Actually, Sima Yue didn't know the way either, but with Mo Sha giving them directions, they just needed to hurry. 3 days later, they arrived at the inner area of the mountain range where the golden snake fruit was located. Following the footprints left behind by those people, they arrived at a mountain. The golden snake fruit was in the middle of a cliff, more than 100 meters above the ground. The other slopes in the other directions were filled with people, while the valley was occupied by countless spirit beasts. Sima Yue and the rest came to an empty space. They were shocked when they saw the situation around them. So many people and spirit beasts. Wei Ziqi sighed. You want to snatch the golden snake fruit from the hands of so many people and spirit beasts. Ouyang Fei didn't finish his sentence, but everyone understood what he meant. That was simply impossible. No matter what, I won't give up so easily. Bei Gongtang clenched her fist and said, Is that the golden snake fruit? Fatty Chu pointed at the golden snake fruit tree in the middle of the cliff and asked. In such a high place, even if there is no one else, wanting to pluck this golden snake fruit would not be easy. Wei Ziqi said. Although the cliff is high, it is not straight. There is a slope at the bottom. Sima Yue said after observing for a while. But a normal person wouldn't be able to climb up. At least we won't be able to climb up. Fatty Chu said. Right now, we can only see if we can take advantage of the chaos caused by the ripening of the golden snake fruit. Ouyang Fei said. Bei Gong, if it really doesn't work I understand. Bei Gongtang nodded. If she really couldn't think of a way, she wouldn't force it. If he really lost his life because of this, then it really wasn't worth it. Moreover, she still had so many things waiting for her to do. I'm just afraid that taking advantage of the chaos won't be easy. Sima Yue rubbed her chin as she pondered. Looks like we really have to think of a way. Yue, look, isn't that the general? Fatty Chu suddenly pointed at a tent and said. Sima Yue looked over and sure enough, Sima Lai had brought a few people from the general's residence to set up camp on the hill opposite the golden snake fruit. Why is grandfather here? Seeing Sima Lai observing from outside the tent, she immediately hid behind Fatty Chu and said to the others. Anyway, there are still 4 days until the golden snake fruit ripens. Let's leave this place first. That's good too. If we stay here, I'm afraid that we will become a stumbling block for those powers. Wei Ziqi said. Nobody knew why Sima Yue didn't want to look for Sima Lai, but they really didn't have much use here. So they nodded and left together. The 5 of them avoided the others and quietly went down the mountain. They came to the mountaintop beside and found a place to rest. Yue, why did you run away when you saw the general and the others? Fatty Chu only asked the question in his heart after sitting down. If grandfather knew that we were here, he would definitely send people to bring us back. At that time, how would we be able to snatch the golden snake fruit? Sima Yue said. In the remaining 3 days, we can properly investigate the surrounding environment. Wei Ziqi said. That's good too. Right now, the spirit beast's attention is all on the golden snake fruit. The inner region is also much safer than usual. Bei Gongtang said. Since that's the case, then we. Sima Yue hadn't finished speaking when her expression suddenly changed, and she said, You guys wait for me here. I'll leave for a while. Yue, where are you going? Although the inner region is safer than usual, it's still very dangerous to be alone. Fatty Chu said. Did something happen? Wei Ziqi asked. Little Roar just transmitted a message to me. It seems that he met with some trouble. Sima Yue said anxiously. Although Little Roar kept saying that he was an ancient spirit beast, he didn't have much battle strength now. If he were to fight with someone, it was unknown who would win. Furthermore, if he didn't meet with any danger, he wouldn't have called her so anxiously. Thinking of this, her heart burned with anxiety, and she couldn't wait to rush over. "We'll go with you," Bei Gongtang said. Sima Yue looked at everyone, and saw that they were determined not to let her leave alone. She nodded her head and said, "Yaguang, bring us to find Little Roar." Just as everyone was wondering who Yaguang was, a majestic iron claw tiger appeared in front of everyone. "Master, quickly come up." Yaguang also felt that Little Roar was in danger, and turned into his original form as he spoke. It can talk. It's another spirit beast." Looking at Yaguang, and then looking at Sima Yue, everyone was extremely shocked. They didn't think that other than Little Roar, she actually had another spirit beast. However, now wasn't the time to be shocked. Everyone quickly calmed themselves down, and jumped onto Yaguang's back. Yaguang said, "Hold on tight." Then he sped off. They followed Little Roar's senses and advanced. After half an hour, they finally arrived at Little Roar's location. However, what they saw was not a battle between spirit beasts but a small cage. Little Roar and a small bird were lying down with their eyes listlessly. Their heads were drooping. One look, and they knew that something was wrong. Ever since Little Roar woke up, Sima Yue had never seen him so listless. Seeing him like this, her heart ached. However, she was also vexed. Previously, she shouldn't have listened to Little Roar's words, and allowed him to wander around the mountain. If not, he wouldn't have ended up like this. As if sensing Sima Yue's arrival, Little Roar, who was lying in the cage, suddenly looked towards the place where they were hiding. Just as she was about to go save Little Roar, the two people who were drinking in the middle started to talk about the spirit beasts they had captured. Sima Yue didn't think that they would bump into a huge conspiracy on this trip. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.